searching for the road to the way back. We don't know our father's going way back. Do you know it? Do you know it? Oh yeah, oh yeah, 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 yeah. We the chosen people, you say no way. Your enemies been teaching you the wrong way. Do you know it? Do you know it? Oh yeah, 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 yeah. It's the simple things in life, like learning love again. It's the simple things in life, like finding where it all again. Oh, do you know your history? History. Yeah. Do you know it? Do you know it? Oh yeah. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Do you know your history? History. Yeah. Do you know it? Do you know it? Oh yeah. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Do you know it? Tell me, do you know it? Do you know it? Tell me, do you know it? Do you know it? Tell me, do you know it? Do you know it? Tell me, do you know it? Do you know it? Tell me, do you know it? Do you know it? Tell me, do you know it? Do you know it? Tell me, do you know it? Do you know it? Tell me, do you know it? History. Now we going back. He done on my back for sure. When I let the truth go, we gon' let them know. My people on my back for sure. I hold them down.
Hey, we're back. Shalom. Hope you guys are tuned in. I can't hear my, are we on? You can hear us?
Yeah, we good.
Okay, all praises. All right. We're back. I'm excited to be back. All praise to the Most High. All praise to the Most High for that. Another week. Let's get started. You are now tuned into
Our Hidden History Radio Show.
Oh gosh.
Yo, what the hell's
It's a slow
going
morning.
on?
It's a slow morning. Came back late, so everybody sound tired.
We got this guy on the panel.
Yo, shout out to Officer Manny. Yo, put the camera on Officer Manny real quick.
Oh man.
You need something to see him.
Oh man.
I got a white shirt so they can see me.
Yo, man. Oh gosh.
Oh man, just a floating shirt.
Yeah.
The headless
All
horseman.
right, so we're gonna start off with where we left off from last week. Headless horseman, y'all terrible. We left off last week. We started off with the expounding upon the history of both the Dutch East and West India companies. I was touching on that last week. I stopped there, so we're gonna continue. We left off. Let's just jump right into it. So I know we have the Telegram, Jez, the stuff you have already.
Yes, sir.
Telegram. You have some. You want to go here first?
No.
Let you guys
Let
you guys get the documents first and Telegram.
No. Let's get that Wikipedia first. Just
All right.
to get a little history on the Dutch.
All right, let's read a little bit about the Dutch East India. Remember, there's two. There's Dutch East India Company and there's Dutch West India Company. One over the Pacific, one over the Atlantic. All right? Go ahead.
Dutch East India Company. The United East India Company, commonly known as the Dutch East India Company, was a chartered trading company and one of the first joint stock companies in the world, established on 20 March 1602 by the
During slavery. Go ahead.
by the States General in the Netherlands, amalgamating existing companies. It was granted a 20-year monopoly to carry out trade activities in Asia.
21-year monopoly to carry out trade activities in Asia. You know who was being traded in Asia? It wasn't just goods. There was slaves, too. The Cochin, the Cochinos, Israel, the Negroes, we were being the Dalits, Sidis, Zanj people. We were being sold all across this ocean. Go ahead.
Shares in the company could be purchased by any citizen of the Dutch Republic and subsequently bought and sold in open-air secondary markets, one of which became the Amsterdam Stock Exchange.
The Amsterdam Stock Exchange. It says secondary. It says what's that? And sold in open secondary markets, one of which became the Amsterdam Stock Exchange. Click that real fast. Read that real quick.
Euronext Amsterdam is a stock exchange based in Amsterdam, the Netherlands, formerly known as the Amsterdam Stock Exchange. It merged on 22 September 2000 with the Brussels Stock Exchange and the Paris Stock Exchange to form Euronext. The registered office of Euronext itself incorporated in the Netherlands a public limited company.
So it involved the stock exchange.
Right.
The profits was in the stock exchange. You even remember America was known as New Amsterdam.
Mm-hmm.
America was officially before it was called New York. It was called New Amsterdam. Okay, and the stock exchange is over here,
Wall Street.
Wall Street. That all that money, or those bodies being sold across the Pacific Ocean and the Atlantic Ocean, all that wealth was acquired and brought into the stock exchange. That's what it was. All that stuff is interconnected. All of it is interconnected. Let's go back. Go back to where was that? The company? No. Yeah. Load up. Go ahead. So the company possessed?
The company possessed quasi-governmental powers.
Quasi-governmental power, because the government was involved. Go ahead.
Including the ability to wage war.
Wow, they had an army. Go ahead.
Imprison and execute convicts. Negotiate treaties. Strike its own coins.
Minting. They had their own mint. Go ahead.
And establish
Colonies. Colonizing and conquering people.
We're going to read about all that.
Go ahead. Establishing colonies. Go ahead.
Also, because it traded across multiple colonies and countries from both the East
And the West. Go ahead.
The VOC is sometimes considered to have been the world's first multinational corporation.
It was one of the first major corporations that was heavily involved in the slave trade. Heavily involved. You want to read them more?
Yes.
You going?
The part we want right here.
Okay.
Statistically, the VOC eclipsed all of its rivals in the Asian trade. Between 1602 and 1796, the VOC
They call it VOC because the name is Verendig
Yeah.
Oostindische Campagne. That's Dutch. So we call it VOC for short. Go ahead.
Between 1602 and 1796, the VOC sent nearly 1 million Europeans to work in the Asia trade on 4,785 ships and netted for their efforts more than 2.5 million tons of Asian trade, goods, and slaves.
So they was involved in the slave. They have their charter and their records of slaves being carried back and forth over here. Black and native. Natives of what? Natives of the Philippines, natives of India, but those are all our people in these lands. Go ahead.
Jump down to having been set up.
Having been set up in 1602 to profit the Moluccan spice trade, the VOC established a capital in the port of the Jayakarta.
Port city of Jakarta.
In 1619 and changed its name to Batavia, now Jakarta.
So I think that's go. Click that. That's India. I might be wrong. Click it.
It sounds like
Let's see where it is. Real
Indonesia.
Quick. Northwest coast of Java, the Java Islands. Yep, Southeast Asia. Where's it at?
Yeah, that's up by Indonesia, Malaysia.
Yeah, go ahead.
Over the next 2 centuries, the company acquired additional ports as trading bases and safeguarded their interests by taking over surrounding territory. It remained an important trading concern and paid annual dividends that averaged to about 18% of the capital for almost 200 years. Much of the labor that built its colonies was from people it had enslaved.
Wow. Much of the labor that built its colonies was from people it had enslaved. So this thing was definitely a slave-making corporation.
So
And it had its own army. It had governmental power. It had its own money, minting money. And all that money that acquired from this slave corporation, all spilled into what is now the wealth of America and all these different European countries today. Dutch, that's what I said. Dutch, it said Brussels, America too. It's all the same. It's all the same. Dutch East India Company Trading Network, 17th century, India, Dutch East Indies, China, Japan, Arabia. There were slaves all in these areas here. We showed you that for the past couple of weeks. Slaves from Arabia, slaves from India, slaves from China, slaves from Japan, Dutch East Indies. Slaves are brought all over the place from these areas. And that money from that slavery was poured into the stock exchange. The wealth acquired from slavery was poured into the stock. We were the stock exchange. All right? So you guys think we're just making things up. Some of y'all in the comments, man, we reading the comments. Some like, oh, you guys, the Bible's fake. You guys know what you're talking about. The Quran answers all things. Quran answers nothing. Quran's a fairy tale. Islam is a fairy tale. I love my brothers. I love my Muslim brothers because those are my brothers. We're Israelites. But the ideology you guys follow, I despise it. And the Arabs were heavily involved in this. Remember, go back to that map again, please. Because I don't forget Ishmael. This whole thing started. Let's start with me getting on Ishmael. Go, not that map, the other map. Yes, it says Arabia here. From coffee, spices, silk. Slaves are being sold from here. Okay, slaves are being sold from here. The Arabs were heavily involved in that. That stock exchange involved the Arabs. They profited from it too. Okay, even Egypt, even to this very day, the Arab nations who reside in parts of Africa and Arabia, they profit off it. Egyptian cotton was picked by slaves, Sudanese slaves. It still is. Slavery still happens in Egypt right now. It's going on in Egypt right now, covertly. This is overt. That was covert back then.
Deacon, this sounds like Revelation 18.
Yeah, let's get that.
Revelation 18.
Yeah, let's get that. Yes, Revelation 18. Revelation 18 is basically the Dutch East and Dutch West East India Company fulfilled.
Stock exchange.
Stock exchange, yeah. Revelation 18. We're gonna start from verse 11.
Yes, sir.
Revelation chapter 18, verse 11. And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise anymore.
The word merchants goes back to corporations, trading companies. Go ahead.
The merchandise of gold.
The merchandise of gold.
And silver.
Silver.
And precious stones.
Precious stones.
And of pearls. And fine linen.
We just showed you the map of what they were selling. Fine linen, go ahead.
And purple.
And purple.
And silk.
Silk. Look at the map here. It says silk, coffee, spices, silk. Right. It says cloth, which is linen. Yam, silk, indigo, silver. Pepper. Go up. Porcelain, tea, sugar, silk, precious metals, that's stones. Spices, luxury goods, cloth, precious metals in Japan.
Right.
Silk, spices. Go down. Cloth again. Pepper, cardamom, ivory.
Hey.
Airconauts, sapphire wood, gems, cloves, cloth, silver, nutmeg, pepper. Let's go back to it again. Read verse 12 again.
Verse 12. The merchandise of gold and silver.
We just read that. Go ahead.
And precious stones.
Stones, gems. Go ahead.
And of pearls.
Pearls. Go ahead.
And fine linen. And purple. And silk. And scarlet.
Go ahead.
And all thine wood.
Thine wood. That go back to the wood we read earlier. Wood. Go ahead.
And all manner vessels of ivory.
We read ivory just now. Go ahead.
And all manner vessels of most precious wood.
We read wood.
And of brass.
Precious metals.
And iron. And marble.
Go ahead.
And cinnamon.
We read that earlier. Cinnamon. The map it's verbatim. We're reading verbatim. Cinnamon. Go ahead.
And odors. And ointments. And frankincense. And wine. And oil. And fine flour. And wheat. And beasts.
Animals.
And sheep. And horses. And chariots.
And chariots.
And slaves.
And what?
And slaves.
And slaves. Go ahead.
And souls of men.
And the souls of men. Slaves and bodies of men. Souls of men. Black gold, as they called it. Black gold. $12,000 a body. Went over that before also.
and digging. These things you find on cargo slave ships.
Yes, you find this on cargo. Now they create. Now they call them those things. Now they call them
Containers.
Containers.
Yeah, now
Shipping containers.
Shipping containers. And the ships that ship them are cargo ships. Modern cargo ships. They're shaped exactly the same as ancient slave ships. Look at those container ships, and cargo ships. They're built the exact same way. This is more modern. It's the exact same shape and the exact same size. They just carry containers now, and they have slaves now inside those containers. You don't believe me? Watch the show movie Mel Gibson did called Sound of Freedom, where they put the children, Native American children, on the ships. They caught these Israelis recently in Guatemala, had 150 children.
Oh man.
They caught them with 100. Oh, Israel said, "Oh, that's a fringe sect of Jewish people." Nah, no, it's not. That's your people. That's your mans and them over there. That's your mans over there and them.
Mandam yo.
Yeah. What happened?
That's how UK be.
Mandam yo? Oh,
Mandam yo.
yeah. That's your mans and them, pretty much. So,
Mandam.
Mandam. So, but they said, oh, that's a fringe sect of Israel over there that did that. Nah. That's y'all. Remember, in Brooklyn, they had them digging on tunnels underground, and all them baby children's clothes was underground in Brooklyn. They had feeding tables. They had bloody mattresses. Where they do spells and witchcraft over there, trying to resurrect their Messiah. They had baby clothes, all shifted all around. I'm not sure if it's in this clip here.
The strollers in there.
They have strollers. This is above ground. You go under the ground when they're digging. There's the Jewish turtle here. Go back to the video. The Jewish turtle. That must be Raphael. Raphael Ben Levi here. Or Leonardo Ben Levi. Or Donatello Ben Levi here. Look like a bed bug with tassels on.
Yo, they wild.
Look at him.
What's
Look at him. Dreidel. Where we at, man? Is there more on underground? I want to see underground.
These guys are the owners of the Dutch East Indies.
Yeah, we're gonna show you. These are the guys that were behind this company. No, go back to the video. I want to they show the underground. I want to they show underground. I want y'all to see what I'm talking about. So you know I'm not making it up, and I'm being anti-Semitic because I am Semitic. So I can talk mess. That's them over there. The cop, remember that they wound with the cops. The cops didn't touch him, you see. Let that have been a Negro doing that. They would have shot him all over the place. They would have shot him all in his ass.
Bullets.
They would have aimed for his ass and shot him in it.
I think they created all that ruckus as a distraction to have the others to hide the evidence that was down there. Like, let me make a big,
Ruckus,
throw chairs and furniture,
Flip
go
out.
in there and start praying and all that. And go down there and cover
Hide
up.
that stuff, yep. But whatever I'm pretty sure the cops bounced up. Is there more? Keep going.
Yeah, even if they found anything, they got power.
Yeah, it don't matter what they find. They might have found a body under there, who knows?
Yep.
But they ain't gonna say nothing about it.
Hashem.
Yep.
It's the same video.
Now there's more, right? That's just it.
Remember the one so-called, he had like 13 women or something like that?
Yeah,
and
locked up.
They
Yep.
swept it under the
30.
rug. 30, I'm sorry.
30 women. He had 30 kidnapped women and he got off.
And they swept it
And then
under
they
the
said
rug.
that the women were too scared to come forward. See right here?
It's an evil world we live in.
They're carrying out a bloody mattress here because they do their little spells under there. That's underground. That's blood there. That's dry blood there.
Sex for children.
Coagulated blood, I believe. That's what that is in there.
take
On the underground. Is there more? You have any more snippets of what they had underground? I want the underground. There we go. See that right there?
There's a stroller,
That's
yeah.
a stroller right there.
Yep.
You don't find that
Stroller. They got tunnels underground. Why is there a stroller here? For
taking
what
a-
reason?
you taking a baby
And
for a
there's
walk?
baby clothes all strewn around all in here. If you, I'm not sure if any other images they have.
You
Where they
don't
have like
find that
children's clothes
suspicious?
strewn around. You probably don't have it. There's actual video of Godfrey, the comedian, in his podcast. They actually had the video where they actually showed the children's. Let's see. Where they had children's clothes. What is this for? What the hell are they doing?
Like a walker. Isn't it like a walker.
High
yeah,
chair,
yeah.
a car seat. Is there
You
more?
don't find that suspicious?
Dang.
So you got? Oh, there's more.
Yo, they're used to building tunnels like in caves and stuff.
Yeah, that's their
That's
thing.
what they're built for.
So y'all got. So y'all guys fine.
Yeah, they made that in no time.
They made mini Petra.
Yeah, or they have some little shovels you bring to the beach.
Yeah. For sandcastles.
Yeah, and buckets, and just did it in 2 minutes. That's all I got. All right, see what you got. I'm trying to get something.
Yo, they're doing better with Manny not being there.
Spirit.
I'm gonna show y'all, man. These guys, bro. There we go. Let me see. You got clothes thrown around. These are their clothes here, but they have children's clothes. I saw in
That's
the video.
crazy, yo.
Look at the Jake sister. Look at her face. She's like, these dudes is crazy. You see her face? See what I got? That's not what I wanted, but it's all right. There's a video.
Where they're walking through underground.
There's
right?
a podcast, Godfrey, and they're commenting on the incident, and they showed a video of the children's clothes, like it's more detailed. It's all strewn around. Their clothes are all over the place. Kids' clothes. I'm gonna stay on them because now it's their turn. I got on Ishmael. I'm gonna get on Amalek now. It's Amalek's turn because they're the big three. I mentioned Moab. I'm still done with them also. Because remember, coaching China, they were all involved in the slave trade. They was involved. This is what we're reading is Psalms 83. India, that's Elam. You got China, that's Moab. Ammon, that's Japan, that's Ammon. Arabia, that's Ishmael. Dutch, that's Edom. All of them were involved in that trade. That stock exchange, they all profited from that. They all profited from it. But Esau, because it's his world, he profited more so. But they were all involved. All of them were involved in that stock exchange. We were the exchange. We were the stock being exchanged. Okay? So let's go on to next. What we got next?
Go to the pages now.
You found a video. You found a video y'all can. You looking for it or no?
No, I put the YouTube link of Godfrey.
Okay, you got the two. Okay.
You want that now?
Yeah, let me see. Yeah, go to that link. Hit play. I want to show you what I saw. So y'all can see it too, not say I'm pushing hate or some slanderous, whatever, And me singing that song, that's your song. Don't get mad, you Israelis. Hava Nagila and your Dreidel, that's your songs. That ain't the Bible songs, that's your songs. I don't want them talking. I just want the video that they show. You hit that, just go right there. Let them, yeah. Right there, yep. Right there, start right there. Hit play. So y'all saw this. We showed you this. Watch.
Let's see.
Yep. Tunnels.
Oh, holy shit.
Keep looking. Watch.
They got buckets.
Buckets. Watch.
Yeah, there was like a mattress that got pulled out that's a part of the
Download
news
this video.
because
Download this video. They don't take it down.
It was full of blood.
Download this video. Make sure you download it for our archives. So each will move it after a while.
What the fuck?
Pause. You see right there? Keep going.
Look at the baby. Look at the baby stuff.
Baby stuff. Look. Yeah, go ahead.
What are they doing down there?
It's a trafficking ring.
That's what I think it is.
Yes.
Look at this. They were going in.
There's baby clothes everywhere.
Baby clothes all around.
What the fuck? Yo, that shit is. Wow, how far were they going? Property manager called in to fix the damage.
They fucked it all up. All of it. Is it blocks of tunnels? That's
Pause all one. So, baby clothes, strollers. These guys, that's why that slave trade ring that recently came out in Guatemala, that's them. Oh, that's a fringe sect of us. No, that's y'all. That's your mans and them. That's y'all doing that. Because if there had been Israelites, y'all say all of us, it was all of us doing it. If there had been Israelites doing it in the sex trade, y'all say all them Israelites, all them black Hebrew Israelites is in trade. So we're going to say all of y'all is in trade too. We're going to do to y'all what you do to us. All of y'all involved. All of y'all is involved. If you do to y'all, do that, we're going to do to you. See, we can do that to you. We can't do it to each other. We can do that to you. Right. Between our people. Where we at?
Give me the first page. That's not the first page. Yep. So this is a book called Modern Capitalism. Modern Capitalism of the Jews, of the so-called. Go ahead. From year 1913.
The foundation of modern colonies. We are only now beginning to realize that colonial expansion was no small force in the development of modern capitalism. It is the purpose of this chapter to show that in the work of that expansion, the Jews played, if not the most decisive, at any rate, a most prominent part.
Now, before we continue, remember, this knowledge of money, and banking, funding. We taught them this stuff. I'm going to show y'all as the class progresses later on, because I have it later on. But I'm going to show y'all that these guys, we taught them. Because Israel, we were industrious. We had the wealth. We had the money. Wherever Israel went, we came with money, especially in Spain and Portugal. So when we came across these people, and whether it was in Spain, whether it was in the mountains of Georgia, Russia, as the Khazars, we taught them our way of living. And our way of living also involved us being very, very industrious and very, very well acquainted with money and finances. We were very wise people. Like you look at our people today in a carnal sense, like Jay-Z, 50. These guys that's Jake. They're Jews, and they're very, very good with money. Even niggas who sell drugs in the corner, it's that hustle. Them dudes is good with numbers. They smart. Like the movie Malcolm X, the Benjamite dude that he worked for. He said, yo, man, Malcolm. And Malcolm tried to rip him off. He said, bruh. He said, I don't want you to write it down. I want you to use your mind. I want you to remember the numbers. Because back when Bumpy Johnson and them, what's his name? Frank, what's his name?
Frank Lucas.
Frank Lucas. These guys are geniuses. I'm not glorifying what they were doing. I'm simply emphasizing our ingenuity and how very intuitive we were, how smart we were with numbers. A lot of these dudes don't finish school, that be in the streets doing hustling and stuff. They're very, very smart with numbers. So what I'm showing is that remnant of that wisdom with money and finances among our people, even though I'm mentioning the negative side of it, I'm showing y'all that our people had always, not all of us, but back then, a lot of us, we were raised that way, but not now anymore, but back then, in our right mind, who knew who we were very, very good with money. And so when we came across these Edomites and we converted them, we taught them that. We taught them how to spend money, how to save, how to invest, and all of that. And we had money. That's why I showed y'all maybe months ago how when the white man conquered us in Spain and Portugal, they became grave robbers. They would open up our graves and take our money. We were being buried with money. And if we ran the ships to try to escape Spain, they would rob us on the boats because they knew we had money. We swallowed the money, all of that, because they knew we had money. So we taught these people business know-how and financing and banking. We taught them this. So when they converted and learned our ways, they learned how to deal with money. And now they've mastered it. So once they conquered us, they mastered banking and money. Now they ended up selling us. What we did, we taught the enemy. Hold on, give me Sirach 10 real quick, Sirach 12 real quick. I'm gonna go back to this. Sirach 12.
They're nasty people, man.
Yeah, they're nasty, and they're. I'm gonna show you.
They were eating even mummies from Europe, from Egypt. They thought it was like a medicinal cure for a while.
Oh,
a couple 100 years, they would eat mummies.
Eating mummies. Sirach 12 and verse 10.
Sirach chapter 12, verse 10.
This has always been our problem. Read.
Never trust thine enemy.
We would originally, when we converted the nations or conquered them and made them run our ways, they were subject to us. We were ruling. We were in a ruling position. But what ended up happening was we continued to do that even when we got conquered and lost power. We still kept doing that, teaching them our ways while in exile and being powerless. When a people take over and conquer, the subjects follow the rulers. That's just how it is. So when we ruled and conquered under King David and so forth, or the Hasmonean family, the Maccabees and them, the nations that we conquered, they had to follow our ways. Even with Esther and Mordecai, when they gained authority and ascended into power under the Persian king, the nations followed behind us because we gained authority. That's why they converted, when we were in power. But then when we lost power and became exiled and scattered all over the world, we still kept doing that. We weren't supposed to do that unless we were ruling. Read on.
For like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness.
Yeah, you can't trust them. They'll always be the same. Go ahead.
Though he humble himself, he go crouching.
Though he humble himself and he come, I want to learn. Let me learn. Teach me. Go ahead.
Yet take good heed and beware of him.
Be mindful. Go ahead.
And thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass.
Meaning you clean the glass off, you can still see that this guy is still wicked, evil. Go ahead.
And thou shalt know that his rust have not been altogether wiped away.
He did that. So I'm going to give you an example. It happened to us in Spain and Portugal, and it happened to us on this side of the world. The Native Americans taught the white man how to cultivate the land, agriculture, how to survive the weather, where to go, and we taught them. They became Americans. They conquered the Native Americans, became Americans. They conquered us in Spain and Portugal, became the Jews. Conquered us in Israel, became Israel. It's the same thing. We keep teaching these people how to survive, and then they thrive and destroy us. We never learn. Read on. Watch.
Set him not by thee.
Do not set him by you. We set them by us. Go ahead.
Lest when he have overthrown thee.
Lest what?
When he have overthrown thee.
When he have overthrown you, go ahead.
He stand up in thy place.
He does what?
He stand up in thy place.
He does what?
He stand up in thy place.
He will stand in your place. He will take over. He'll become you. I'm Native American for $5. I'm Israel. I'm a Christian. He'll become you. I'm Jewish. I'm Ashkenazi. I'm Sephardic. That's what happens. When you teach them your ways, when you're not in power, they will overthrow you. Read on.
Neither let him sit at thy right hand.
Go ahead.
Lest he seek to take thy seat.
Lest he do what?
Lest he seek to take thy seat.
He take your land. He take your heritage. He take your identity. Go ahead.
And thou at the last.
And you in the end, do what?
Remember my words.
Now we know. We're like, oh, damn.
Yeah.
God's words is true. Don't set him by you. Or at the last, in the end, you're going to remember what I said to you. Go ahead.
And be pricked therewith.
Now we getting cut now. Read on.
Who will pity a charmer that is bitten with a serpent?
Why is he going into this? A charmer is a person that does the flute and the snake dances. And the charmer is playing the flute and the snake will dance. Now, if the snake just stops dancing and bites the charmer, you can't feel sorry for him. Why? He playing with a snake. You know what snakes do. That's stupid. Read it again.
Who will pity a charmer that is bitten with a serpent? Or any such as come nigh wild beasts.
You can't get when white folks go in the ocean, the scuba gear, in the cage, and they're like, look at them great and white. Look at it. He's great and white, and I'm great and white. I don't. When they get killed under there, I don't feel bad for them because you don't play with them. They go on there. Look at the lion. Let me put my head in the lion's mouth. What's that dude named Siegfried and Roy? That dude put his head in that lion's man. That lion walk clunk. You'll mess him up bad.
Crocodile Dundee.
That's a movie, yeah. But the other guy, that's a movie. But the other guy, his name is Irwin, Steve Irwin.
Yeah. Steve Irwin.
When he played with that damn manta ray, that thing stung him in his chest. It was a rat. You can't feel sorry for him. Why are you messing with them? Why are you messing with wild animals? When I go into the water in the beach, I go into the water where I can see my feet and it's in my waist. If I see a fin, I can run. I'm not playing with that stuff. I'm black. I don't like dangerous animals at all. Now, in Africa, of course, there's wild animals all over the place, so you're prone to being attacked by them because you're in that environment. But even when we was in Africa, we had no sense to build up walls. We were smart. Esau will go into the jungle, get eaten by cannibals, get killed by a snake. I'm like, yo, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? So you can't feel bad when someone gets killed by a wild animal when they play around with it. Read on. So it's the same context when you play around with your enemy. Set them by you and teach them your ways and you trust them. It's the same analogy.
It's like that story that Bishop Yawasop says about the woman that nursed the snake.
Oh,
the
yeah,
snake bit her. He's
yeah.
Like, but you knew I was a snake.
Yeah, go ahead.
Verse 14. So one that goeth to a sinner and is defiled with him in his sins, who will pity?
Read on.
For a while he will abide with thee.
For a while they'll learn from you. They'll sit by you, go to your schools, learn, be educated by you, let you teach them. They'll sit by you. Go ahead.
But if thou begin to fall.
But when we start to lose power over Portugal, Spain, Israel, we lost our land. We start to lose power in this side of the world here. Go ahead.
He will not tarry.
He will not stick around. Go ahead.
An enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips.
Oh, wow, you guys are so wise. Wow, you're so deep. Teach me. How do you count money like that? What do you do? Remember, you read Maccabees, we minted money. We had this knowledge already. Read on.
But in his heart, he imagineth how to throw thee into a pit.
Go ahead.
He will weep with his eyes.
Go ahead.
But if he find opportunity,
go ahead.
He will not be satisfied with blood.
He will not be satisfied with blood. If he finds a way to destroy you, he will not be satisfied. He will destroy you until you're gone, until you're enslaved and carried off. Read on.
If adversity come upon thee,
When you come into adversity, you start getting conquered and losing power. Go ahead.
thou shalt find him there first.
You're going to find him there. Go ahead. When you in chains. Go ahead.
And though he pretend to help thee,
He pretend to help. I help you. Go ahead.
yet shall he undermine thee.
Undermine, take over. Undermine means conquer over time, corrode and corrupt over time. He waits. Go ahead.
He will shake his head
Go ahead.
and clap his hands
You should have never taught me, nigga. Go ahead.
and whisper much and change his consonant.
Whisper much means slander. He ain't the Jew. I'm the Jew now. It's my land now. You a Hamite. You a goy. That's what that is now. That's what we're reading here. Don't teach your enemies when you in slavery. Don't teach your enemies when you ain't in power. That's the Bible says. If you do that, Israelites even today trying to let heathen in their schools. Then them same heathens in your schools try to overthrow you and say, oh yeah, we all can be saved. You guys aren't the chosen no more. We're all chosen. It's all evil. Y'all don't learn. Let's go back. Where we at now? The Jews should have.
Just read from the
That
top
the
again.
Jews should have.
That the Jews should have been keen colonial settlers was only natural, seeing that the New World, though it was but the old in a new garb, seemed to hold out a greater promise of happiness to them that cross-gained old Europe. More especially when their last Dorado, Spain, proved an inhospitable refuge. And this applies equally to all colonial enterprises, whether in the east or the west or the south of the globe. There were probably many Jews resident in the East Indies, even in medieval times. And when the nations of Europe, after 1498, stretched out their hands to seize the lands of the ancient civilization, the Jews were welcomed as bulwarks of European supremacy, though primarily they came as pioneers of trade. In all likelihood, exact proofs have not yet been established. The ships of the Portuguese and of the Dutch must have brought shoals of Jewish settlers to their respective Indian possessions.
Wow.
At any rate, Jews participated extensively in all the Dutch settlements, including those in the east.
So-called, they were involved in all the colonizing. They were involved financially. Go ahead. And settling also. Go ahead.
We are told that Jews were large shareholders in the Dutch East. Come on.
Dutch East what? They were large shareholders in the Dutch East what?
What y'all doing?
Come on.
In the Dutch East India Company.
They were large shareholders in the Dutch East India Company. Come on, man. I'm telling you, you cannot make this up.
So now from that the Wikipedia, where we read about the Dutch East India Company and all the trading and the enslavement that they did to
And the
us.
shareholding.
And the shareholding. Now we know who's behind that whole the whole operation.
They're behind it. Read on.
We know that the governor of the company, who, if he did not actually establish the power of Holland and Java, certainly contributed most to strengthen it.
Go ahead.
Was called Cohen.
Cohen, that's the Israeli name. Cohen, go ahead.
Furthermore, a glance at the portraits of the governors of the Dutch colonies would make it appear that this Cohen is not the only Jew among them.
Nope, go ahead.
Jews were also directors of the company.
Go ahead.
In short, no colonial enterprise was complete without them.
They were involved in the slave trade.
They had their hands over the whole.
They were
everything.
heavily involved. Their hands was in all of it, in a pot, all in the pot. Go ahead.
That's a late bomb. It is as yet unknown to what extent the Jews shared in the growth of economic life in India after the English became masters there.
They gained it. Go ahead.
We have, however, fairly full information as to the participation of the Jews in the founding of the English colonies in South Africa and Australia. There is no doubt that in these regions, more particularly in Cape Colony, well nigh all economic development was due to the Jews.
Go ahead.
In the 20s and 30s of the 19th century, Benjamin Norton and Simon Marx came to South Africa.
A lot of those Dutch over there in South Africa is so-calls.
Yep.
A lot of them. Them Dutch, they have Afrikaners over there. Those are so-calls. The Israelis, those are Israelis under Dutch or Dutch names. Those are, I'm telling you right now, they're the same. South Africa, all the islands that border it, whether it be Mauritius, That's named after a Dutch prince, Maurice. Okay, you know it means black. You know it means Moor, and it means Moor itself, but it's named after a Dutch prince. Those islands all bordering that area are run by the Dutch, and the islands on the other side of the world, like Curacao, that's Dutch too. Suriname, that's Dutch also. It's all them. It's them. Go ahead.
And the industrial awakening of almost the whole interior of Cape Colony was their work. Julius Mosenthal and his brothers Adolf and James established the trade in wool, skins, and mohair.
Slaves too. Yeah.
Aaron and Daniel de Paz monopolized the whaling industry.
Killing animals, that's beasts. In Revelation 18, right. Go ahead.
Joel Myers commenced ostrich farming.
Beasts, go ahead.
Lillianfield of Hopetown brought the first diamonds.
Precious stones.
Similar leading positions were occupied by the Jews in the other South African colonies, particularly in the Transvaal.
Because most of the things you read about Revelation 18 are primarily common in Africa. That's why they spent a lot of time over there. Go ahead.
Where it is said that today, 25 of the 50,000 Jews of South Africa are settled.
Wow. Half. Go ahead.
It is the same story in Australia, where the first wholesale trader was Montefiore.
So them people that conquered the Australians over there, that's them too. That's them also. They're involved. Remember, the India Company had a military. They were quasi-governmental and had their military and minted their own money. These guys were pretty much a empire on water. That's what the East India Company was, an empire on water that sailed. Go ahead.
It would seem to be no exaggeration, therefore, that a large proportion of the English colonial shipping trade was for a considerable time in the hands of the Jews.
So even after the Dutch lost the power and the English came aboard, the Israelis were involved in the British too. The Israelis changed their names. They gave themselves French names, English names, Dutch names, Spanish names, Portuguese names, but they're the same people. I got books on them. I got the books on them. I'm going to show you. They changed their names to hide themselves, to hide their identity, to hide themselves. They were heavily involved in the slave trade, but it was the same people. We got a text? What we got? That's it on this page, on this book here? We got more.
Yeah, you go to do the Dutch West India Company, page 42. Or you want to wait? Right.
You got it off, Smith?
Yes, we got.
Shalom, leadership. Most High in Christ bless you all. Thank you all for edifying us each Sunday. I can't get my Zoom to operate right. I'm doing something wrong.
Okay.
I saw these carving in a temple in
Angkor Wat,
Cambodia.
Mm-hmm.
I could be wrong, but it looks like our people. Could we have been slaves there also, like so many places?
Yeah, we went over that. We were in Cambodia. Let me see what this is.
That's where Laos, Vietnam, and
Myanmar. Yeah.
It's right above Indonesia and Malaysia.
Yeah, it's upon me. Like I said, I already showed y'all before multiple times that Israel's everywhere. I can't say that for certain that that's Israel, that's Israelites here. But the Israelites, the map I showed y'all, we were being taken from all these areas. They knew who they were. They weren't taking just random people. Now, even when they did decide, there's one instance where they took Japanese, but they put them Japanese right back home. They said, no, don't touch them. Take the niggas. Leave the Japanese alone. So, in the instances where they did take a heathen, they put him back. Keep on selling the slaves. Don't touch no one else. Bring the blacks, bring the Chinos, leave the Japs alone, leave the Chinese alone. Just bring the ones that we want from those areas on the ships. So, where's this, Cambodia? Is that on the map? Go back to the map again.
Yeah,
is that on here?
Cambodia's over here, where it says Siam and Burma.
Siam. Yeah. Canton. Yeah. So we were over there. I can't speak. We were over there. You know, some things I can give specifics on, and some things we gotta look further into. Right. So where we at? Go to the next one. So that was Dutch East India Company, heavily involved in this in the trading policies, the business, the corporation. They were the directors, and they had the majority share. I say they're the founders of it, to be honest. I think they were behind the entire thing, but I could be wrong. Or it's a conglomerate of all Europeans, but they're the guys that handle the money. I'll put it that way.
They financed
They finance everything. The slave ship, finance the slave ships, all of that stuff. Over here now?
The Jews.
You can start at in that year a vessel
Yes, sir. In that year, a vessel with Jewish immigrants from Brazil, which had become a Portuguese possession, anchored in the Hudson River. And the passengers craved permission to land in a colony which the Dutch West India Company.
So now we're done with the Dutch West. We just left Dutch East India Company. Now we're focusing on Dutch West. Remember, Wikipedia said that they handled their trade in the East and in the West regarding enslavement. Slaves. Go ahead.
Had found it there, but they were no humble petitioners asking for a favor. They came as members.
So it's going to say why they didn't ask for no favors. They wasn't humble about it. Like, yo, we want to settle right there. That's what we want. That's the spot we want to settle at. Go ahead.
They came as members of a race which had participated to a large extent in the new foundation, and the governors of the colony were forced to recognize their claims. When the ship arrived, New Amsterdam was under the rule of Stuyvesant, who was no friend to the Jews and who, had he followed his own inclination, would have closed the door in the face of the newcomers. But a letter dated March 26, 1665,
in slavery. Go ahead.
Reached him from the court of the company in Amsterdam, containing the order to let the Jews settle and trade in the colonies under the control of the company.
Why? Go ahead.
Also, because of the large amount of capital which they have invested in shares of this company.
The monopoly shares in both companies, East and West. They were involved. Go ahead.
It was not long before they found their way to Long Island, Albany, Rhode Island, and Philadelphia.
They dropped the slaves off on these spots. They dropped them off. They were profiting from this. Go ahead.
Then their manifold activities began, and it was due to them that the colonies were able to maintain their existence. The entity of the United States today is only possible, as we know, because the English colonies of North America, thanks to a chain of propitious circumstances, acquired a degree of power and strength such as ultimately led to their complete independence. In the building up of this position of supremacy, the Jews were among the first and the keenest workers.
He's saying they were behind how America became what it is.
Gained its wealth. Mm-hmm. That goes back to the British. Remember the independence. Remember it said the Israelis were involved in the British. And the last was the East India Company, and America came from the British. So they were involved.
So he's gonna explain it.
Go ahead.
Further on.
I am not thinking of the obvious fact that the colonies were only able to achieve their independence by the help of a few wealthy Jewish firms who laid the economic foundations for the existence of the new republic. The United States would never have won complete independence had not the Jews supplied the needs of their armies and furnished them with the indispensable sinews of war.
So they funded the weapons and the army to them to conquer this place.
So Deke, now we know why America goes so hard with funding them back.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
They owe them. They owe them. From the foundation. They've been there from we helped you guys to conquer America. You owe us. Because Israel and America are one and the same. They go hand in hand. Mm-hmm. One hand washes the other. Damn, go ahead.
But what the Jews accomplished in this direction did not arise out of specifically American conditions. It was a general phenomenon met with throughout the history of the modern capitalistic states, and we shall do justice to instances of it when dealing with wider issues.
That's it. So again, they were heavily involved in the East India Company, and the West India Company was the company that was used to help grant America financial power and prowess to grow and prosper into the kingdom it is today. The Israelis were involved in basically America's inception. Financially. So the stock exchange here in America, that's thanks to the Israelis. I gotta start calling them the Jewish people. I gotta start saying that word. It's blasphemy. I'm gonna call them Israelis. Right. Real quick, give me Israeli real quick, etymology.com. This is why I call them that.
They want to separate themselves so much from not being white. So they create a buffer with that, and then they use the other Edomites as another buffer to separate themselves from the actual slave trade they had a heavy hand in, not just in America, but around the world. So whenever anybody brings this information out, they get really upset and
Yep.
they call you anti-Semitic.
Yep.
But it's true. It's history.
Yep. And I got books that show, written by their own scholars, that they call themselves white, that they acknowledge that they are white
Yep.
people until they gain the land and so forth. Then it's okay. No, we're not white. We're Jews now. Read that.
Israeli, now citizen of the state of Israel.
When?
1948.
That's when this word was coined. Go ahead. Israeli. Go ahead.
From Israel plus Hebrew national designation. Also used in English as the adjective in 1948.
Watch this.
It distinguishes the citizens of the modern state.
Stop. Distinguishes means makes a difference. This word, now this shouldn't even be put here. This is like a, people don't read. It says it, Israeli, distinguishes the citizens of the modern is. Okay, read again.
It distinguishes.
Makes a difference, a comparison. They're both different. Go ahead.
The citizens of the modern state.
So the word Israeli distinguishes them who are in the land now. Go ahead.
From the ancient people who have been known in English since 14C as Israelites.
So is an Israeli and an Israelite are two different people. So if they're the Jews over there, why they call themselves Israelis? Because they know they're not the Israelites. They inhabit the land, but don't descend from the man.
Yeah, I got. Can y'all look up law of return real quick? Because it says Israeli citizen of the state of Israel, right?
Right.
Look up law of return. Read that.
The law of return is an Israeli law passed on 5 July 1950, which gives Jews, people with one or more Jewish grandparent, and their spouses the right to relocate to Israel and acquire Israeli citizenship.
So that's why they all Israelis, because they all get Israeli citizenship. So they're all Israelis, even
Right.
if they're not in the land. Why? Because they put a law forth that, if you're Amalek, you get citizenship automatically.
Right. Get Ezekiel. The prophecy that goes into that. Ezekiel 36, I think it is. Out for a prey. You got a text. After this, after read this, we're going to get the text. 36 and... Yep, verse 5.
Ezekiel chapter 36, verse 5.
Read verse 2 first and jump to verse 5.
Verse 2. Thus saith the Lord God, because the enemy have said against you.
Against us.
Aha, even the ancient high places are ours in possession.
Ancient high places is Israel and Israel, the land of Israel. Go ahead. Jump to verse 5.
Verse 5.
America too, but Israel primarily. Go ahead.
Therefore, thus saith the Lord God, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen, and against all Idumea.
And against all Idumea. Against all Idumea. This is the Edomites today. Amalek. Go ahead.
Which have appointed my land into their possession.
Which have done what?
Which have appointed my land into their possession.
Which have appointed my land into their possession. Go ahead.
With the joy of all their heart.
Go ahead.
With the spiteful mind.
To do what?
To cast it out for a prey.
Law of return. Everyone come in, my Dutch brothers, my English brothers, my Russian brothers, my Ukrainian brothers. Come, the law of return. Come in. That's what this is. Cast it out for a prey. Come on in. Open his borders for everybody to come on in there. That's what the Bible calls them Assyrians. Because they come into the land, they deported us out of our land and put foreign nations in there, including themselves. That's what they have done. The Bible calls them spiritual Assyrians. They are the Assyrians, modern Assyrians. Conquer the Americas, become Native Americans or Americans. Conquer Israel, become Israelis. It's the same thing. It's the same exact thing. What we got here?
Shalom, Deacon. There is a group of people in Sri
Lanka.
Sri Lanka, called the
Tamils,
or Tamil people. Do you know if these people are Israel?
I've heard of Tamils before, but I never looked into it. I'm not sure. You might get a lot. I'm sorry, y'all. You might get a lot of not sures. I didn't delve. We're all over that area. Let's look into it. Let's look real fast. Let's see. Look up Tamils real fast. Let me see. Read that there.
The Tamils, also known as the Tamilar, are a Dravidian ethno-linguistic group
Oh, that's Indian. Okay. Dravidian. Go ahead.
who natively speak the Tamil language and trace their ancestry mainly to the southern part of the Indian subcontinent.
I don't know. Go down. Let me see. Go down to the bottom. Etymology. Oh, wait. Let me see. Go down. History. Go down. Go down. Go to images. We say look.
They look black. They look.
Yeah.
They could be Dalits.
Yeah,
something
maybe
like
Dalits.
that, yeah.
We trying to see which caste system they fall under.
They were slaves too.
Oh, they were slaves.
Yeah.
I remember reading something about them. Oh, yeah. Damn. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
We have to look into it though.
We got to look into it, though. We'll look into it. That's Jake right there, but we got to look into them. We got to look into that caste. I know the Dalits and CDs, if they fall in that category, then more than likely, yes. Dalits and CDs are, we primarily focus on them because their history is more detailed and pronounced regarding the CDs especially and the Dalits. So if they're in the family, if they fall into that category or that caste of Dalit or CD, then yes. But we can't say for certain that all of them are us. But if they're Dalit or CD, then yes. Or if they fall in that caste system or in that category, then there's a probability that yes, they may very well be remnants of us there. Seeing as how the Bible says that in the lands in which we're scattered, we be remnants of us in those lands. That's why I don't speak. That's why I don't speak on majority. I speak on minority in these particular instances. All right. So, cast it out for a prey. That's what the Israelis have done. Get me Isaiah 11. Since there you go. How long we got to a break? What, 5? Give me Isaiah 11 and 10. Since we're on the topic.
Isaiah chapter 11, verse 10. And in that day there shall be a root of Jesse, which shall stand for an ensign of the people.
This is Christ. Go ahead, the Messiah. Go ahead.
To it shall the Gentiles seek.
To it, Christ, shall the Gentiles seek. Go ahead.
And his rest shall be glorious.
And his rest for them shall be glorious. Go ahead.
And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people.
To recover the remnant of his people. Go ahead.
Which shall be left from Assyria.
Assyria. Now, again, Assyria falls into, it's broad. You're going to be the Afro-Turks. You have the Afro-Syrians, the Afro-Turks, Syrians, Afro-Iranians, Afro-Iraqis. That's Assyria. Those four fall in that category of Assyria. Afro-Iranians, Afro-Syrians, Afro-Turkish, and Afro-Iraqis. That will be your Assyria today. So you write that down. Or rewind it and watch it again. I'll say it again. Afro-Iranians, Afro-Turks, Afro-Syrians, Afro-Iraqis. That will be Assyria. Because Assyria is in the middle of those areas. All right? Read on.
And from Egypt.
Egypt, my people in Egypt. Go ahead.
And from Patros.
Patros, that'll be Sudan. Go ahead.
And from Cush.
Cush will be Ethiopia.
And from Elam.
Elam will be either Persia or India, which is annexed to that. So Persia/India. Afro-India, Dalit, CDs, possibly Tamils. You got to look into that. But that would be Elam. India, Iran, Persia, that's Elam. Go ahead.
And from Shinar.
Shinar will be Afro-Iraqis. That's Iraq. Go ahead.
And from Hamath.
Hamath will be Syria. Central Syria, Afro-Syrian, Syria. Go ahead.
And from the islands of the sea.
Yeah, that's self-explanatory. Islands of the sea, that goes into the islands of the sea on the Atlantic, islands of the sea in the Mediterranean, islands of the sea in the Pacific, Polynesian, or Atlantic, or Mediterranean, whatever. We are in those isles. We are in the isles, especially the volcanic ones. Papua New Guinea, Solomon Islands, Vanuatu, Tahiti, Fiji, Australia, Seychelles, Mauritius. We are in these areas. We're there. You'll find us there. Mm-hmm. You got stupid Israelites talking about the internet. No, stop. No. No. Yeah, internet is fine, yes, but you have to travel these areas. We're not saying, people out there saying, oh, no, just internet, only internet. That's madness. You thought it was something else? No. Oh. But the doctrine is that the internet is what you use to go out there and teach the people. No. We know that we're not going to reach all our people in traveling to these areas, but the disciples and them still travel to these places.
I thought, Deke, my bad. I thought they were saying that we were scattered in the internet as far as like the World Wide Web. It's something stupid they would say though. But.
No, that's ridiculous. That's a stretch of ridiculousness.
I'm like, what?
No, what I'm saying is that the doctrine is that Israel's mad because the bishop put out a challenge saying, since you guys feel like we're wicked, whatever, do better. Go out there like we're doing and travel to these areas and teach our people on the islands. We're reading right here. Brothers is like, nah, that's a census challenge because it's the internet and this and that. But there's areas we've gone to, traveled to where there is no internet,
right?
And our people are there.
We should.
So what do we just leave them on the wayside because they don't have no internet?
Then Paul, man, he did a senseless challenge.
Yeah, Thomas did a senseless challenge going to India.
Yeah.
All the 12 disciples did this senseless idiots thing. They traveled to these places. Now they're gonna say, well, there was no internet back then. Okay, but he still told them to go out there and travel regardless.
But they could just send letters.
Yeah, it could have. Yeah, so I don't understand.
Why travel? They could have sent letters.
Hey, D,
Yeah.
can we read that just to prove that in Romans 10?
Yeah, read that. Yeah.
Romans 10 and verse 14 and 15.
Ironically, sadly, they actually pulled this.
What the?
So I reprobate. I don't know. Romans 10.
Romans chapter 10, verse 14.
And, then he did say, we ain't got money like y'all. We ain't got money like y'all do. We don't have money either. We just know how to work together as a unit, put our money together. We all have jobs, which some of you camps teach against, and we all put our money together.
Well, that's why they
Booster
don't have
Club,
money,
shout out to the Booster Club. See that box right there? Right here, that box, wherever it is. You donate right there, and we take that money, and we use it for that. You guys get money from the people, and you use it, and you spend it on yourselves. Do I? Okay, if that's what you want to believe.
I wish. I need help with my bills, man.
Romans 10, where we at? 14?
Romans chapter 10, verse 14.
Yeah.
How then shall they call on him in whom they have not believed? And how shall they believe in him of whom they have not heard?
Yo, can you read it from the top again?
Oh, snap. Can you? Oh, Lord. I was trying to ignore it, but my heart hurt.
You've been ignoring it the whole
I have. I'm trying to be a better person. I'm very mean at times. I'm trying to be a better person.
Thanks, Deke.
I die daily and hourly. Please, verse 14 again.
I don't know
Verse
if you've
14.
seen like 3 spaces between the letters or
They just put the words together.
How then shall they call on him in whom they have not believed? And how shall they believe in him of whom they have not heard? And how shall they hear without a preacher?
Go ahead.
And how shall they preach except they be sent?
Except they be sent. Except they be sent.
Right.
You know, sent to the internet. I mean, if that's your doctrine, brothers, plural, hey, more power to you. We're going to do what the Bible says. The Messiah told the disciples to go out into all nations, and they went into the old world, and rumored, some say new, who knows, but we know historically that they went to the old world. I firmly believe they went to the new also, but to the old world, they traveled to these areas. Go ahead.
As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of them that preach the gospel of peace
Go ahead.
and bring glad tidings of good things.
So we're going to go out there to the best of our ability before the Messiah returns and teach our people. We're not saying, we know that we're not saying we're going to go out, we're going to be successful in reaching all of us. We know the earth is huge. We're not going to reach all our people. There's certain areas in the world where we cannot go or whatever, or be, we understand that. But the Bible does not forbid you or stop you from being able to, if you have the ability to go out there and travel and teach your people. If you can, fine. If you can't, it's fine. But don't get mad at us for putting out a challenge that is possible because we've done it. If we're saying, oh, you guys are prescribing labors that are too grievous to be borne, Matthew 23, I'm like, what? It's grievous to get a passport? Is grievous to hop on a plane? Okay.
That's just lazy.
All right. You just guys lack the resources. That's fine. Just stop talking mess. Let us do our job. Anyway.
Those that say it's a line in the street, we can't go out there.
Yeah, it's a line in the street.
Hey man, man, maybe that's just the dispensation of the gospel that the Lord gave.
Yeah,
them.
you guys are domestic. That's
Maybe you
fine.
stay
Be
internet.
domestic.
Right.
Stay in the internet. Stay domestic.
local.
The prophets are international. The Bible said their lines went forth through all the earth. They traveled. Your line is limited to the internet. Your line is limited to internet. If Esau decides to cut Israelites off of YouTube, off the internet, where's your line gonna go? It's gonna stop. Okay. Isaiah 11.
They could reign as kings by themselves here while we get travel and get persecuted.
Yeah.
Hey, Deacon, even I remember you brought out that our people over in the Solomon Islands and so forth, they had a tradition or whatever that said their ancestors said that we would come.
Yeah, they told us. They told us that the tradition was passed on to them by their ancestors that brothers will come, people will come. They had inscriptions written somewhere over there in both Greek and Hebrew, and that those inscriptions taught they learned from their forefathers that they were Israelites, and that people will come to the island and confirm what their forefathers had told them. That brothers will come there and teach them that they're Israel over there in the islands. So we got this. So I said, you guys coming here fulfills what our forefathers told us. It's prophecy. You guys, they told us that out of their own mouths.
Meaning they had to see.
We've been waiting for
not
it.
no internet.
Yeah.
Right. It wasn't internet. They were told that the people will be sent by God to teach them that they are people over there. And they were very, very, very receptive. Very receptive. So I mean, we had people surrounding us by the hundreds. The same way Paul taught and Christ taught, and there was hundreds of people listening. That's how it was. The bishop was out there, and the captains was out there doing the work of the Lord. The deacons out there doing the work of the Lord. So, see right here, these images. That's our people out there, all listening. A boatload, a damn sea of people. Mm-hmm. That's why it says Christ spoke of the sound of many waters, because he had a big audience. All right. So, I mean, you guys, like I said before, those are our people right there. Take it how you want it. It is what it is. Let's read on. Islands of the sea. We stopped there. Read on. Verse 12.
Isaiah chapter 11, verse 12. And he shall set up an ensign for the nations.
He calls our people in these lands nations. Hold that. Give me Genesis 28, 35 and 10. Genesis 35 and 10. Genesis 35 and 10 and 11.
Genesis chapter 35, verse 10.
Yeah.
And God said unto him,
him is Jacob. Go ahead.
Thy name is Jacob. Mm-hmm. Thy name shall not be called Jacob.
Oh, man. Shut your read. Verse 10, please.
Shit.
And God said unto him, Thy name is Jacob. Thy name shall not be called any more Jacob, but Israel shall be thy name.
Yeah.
And he called his name Israel.
Verse 11, go ahead.
And God said unto him,
Verse 11 again. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
and
Verse
God
11.
said unto him, I am God Almighty.
Go ahead.
Be fruitful and multiply.
Watch.
A nation and a company of nations.
So what's the nation here? The nation here is Judah. This is the prophecy of Israel eventually being what? Split into different names. Nation, that'd be Judah here. Go ahead. And what?
And a company of nations.
Meaning nations as in Gentiles here, Northern Kingdom, scattered abroad. Go ahead.
Shall be of thee, and kings shall come out of thy loins.
Now we know that nation and company of nations means all 12 tribes are nations becoming one, but it's the prophecy of them being what? Nation and company of nations. Southern Kingdom and Northern Kingdom prophetically. So that's why I said, go back to Isaiah again. Verse 12 again.
Isaiah chapter 11, verse 12.
Go ahead.
And he shall set up an ensign for the nations.
The nations that come out of who? Out of Jacob. Out of Jacob. A nation and a company of nations. That's all 12. Go ahead.
And shall assemble the outcasts of Israel.
So he expounds on it. So the nations here are the outcasts of Israel. Go ahead.
And gather together.
Both. Go ahead.
The dispersed of Judah.
Where?
From the four corners of the earth.
From the four corners of the earth. A nation and a company of nations. This is referring to Judah and Ephraim. Southern and Northern Kingdom will be scattered in all these areas. Remnants of them. But the bulk would be here. All right? So, real quick, I'm going to stop there. We're going to go on a quick break. Stay tuned. We got more for y'all. Zoom call in if you can. We prefer you guys call in. Zoom call in. If you cannot, you're having problems, text us at 267-702-6121. That's 267-702-6121. Don't forget to donate right here on the side. Boost the club, the land fund. Then your support. Give what you can, when you can, how you can. However you can, just give. Be a cheerful giver. We don't do tithing here. We don't demand you to give 10% of your damn check. That's madness. That's speaking stupidness. That's Christianity. Just give what you can. Any little bit helps. We appreciate that. With your opportunity, you doing that, you grant this opportunity. So all praise to the Most High. See you guys in a few.
What do we got to do for salvation? Keep the commandments. Have these people taught you all to keep the commandments? No! Because everybody out here, I'm looking at you. You're breaking the Sabbath day. These people have done nothing but lie to you. Why? So when Christ returns, not only will the white man be destroyed, you all will too.
Who chose us? The Lord thy God have chosen thee. Who chose us? The Lord thy God have chosen thee. God himself chose us, brothers and sisters. The world was made for who? The Israelites. This whole planet was made for you. For you. But guess what? Through your disobedience, now you're being punished. You've been put through curses because you broke and continue to break God's laws.
What were the children of Israel just called? I can't hear y'all. So who are the saints in the Bible? There we go.
You're going to take that rightful place that's being made out here. You understand? As Israelite men, come back and stand up for the word of God. Get your houses in order. Help fix these sisters and get them back on the right track according to the word of God.
What color are the Jews? What color are the Jews? What color are the Jews? That's right. We're black and we're proud. Say with confidence.
As leadership always says, before we can take this truth nationally, we got to be able to do the work locally.
My history teachers, they never took the time to teach us this.
And that priest knocked him over and stomped on his chest.
So what was our mindset? To go throughout the whole of Ontario.
Colonel Richard Irvine Dodge, every buffalo gone since he was dead.
And they would use the RCMP to reinforce certain things that they didn't like going on in the reservation.
They had the RCMP on their side, the Indian Agency on the other side.
Find out where our people are and give them the true understanding of the Bible.
The fringe is our honor of our Creator, our Maker.
3-hour ride, 5-hour ride. Wow. In those kind of vehicles, yeah.
So we want to make sure they understand they are the Israelites, the so-called Black, Hispanic, and Natives.
Go and visit their kids, and they probably weren't allowed past a certain area.
Wherever they were, we were going to these different regions.
When I do my research and homework, we are descendants of Jacob, and we are the true Israelites.
Push Christianity down their throat, all in the name of white Jesus.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us here on Across the Globe. You are tuned in with me, Baba Tunde. Today, we will be talking with the group Israel United in the Christ. They are currently have a mission to raise money for their own land. It is called the Land Fund. They need this done by March. So we are going to interview some of the members and find out what is going on with the donations. I want to know about the donations. Mr. Aljavicius, thank you for joining. I want to get right into it. Why have you not yet donated?
Well, a few years ago, Mr. Babatunde, I invented solar-powered drills. I wasn't getting the support, and I wasn't able to support like how I wanted to.
You are trying to get to the point of donation?
Yeah, to the point.
What is in the middle of you and the point of donation? The nation needs a donation.
This is very important to the group. We need this. We can get time with our families without being interrupted.
Because it is so important. How much have you donated?
So now I haven't donated because my solar power products that I invented have not been sold yet. I got a solar powered printer, okay? You can only use it outside.
So I'm trying to get my stuff together so I can start getting prepared to start sending
Mr. Tim,
donations.
I noticed that you have a nice haircut. How much was this haircut?
Dude, it's about $40.
Noticed that you have on nice boots here. How much did these boots cost?
$208, matter of fact.
$208.
Yeah, they
so
went
we are
up.
now
They went
at
up.
roughly $250.
I got water powered coolers. Okay, you want a hot summer day, you want the dog to get the water, your kids having a birthday.
How much have you donated?
I ain't donating nothing yet, but...
Nothing yet. Oh, we seem to have lost him. Oh, now he speaks sign language. This happens when you ask people the real question, why have not they donated? Now they can't hear. He doesn't know I took sign language in my country. Why have you not donated? Nation needs a donation.
My man. Yes, sir.
No, I have the accent, not you.
Solar powered ironing board, okay? You want to iron your threads outside, you want to get some sun, you can iron them outside, enjoy the weather.
About 4 years ago, I purchased an alternator from the mechanic brother. I'm gonna keep it 100. I'm still hurting from that right now.
Why I tell you what you think about that, boy. Man. Tell me what you think about that.
1700.
Yeah, there you go.
For an alternator?
Yes, for an alternator.
Man, what the?
That must have been a very expensive alternator.
Yeah, I think he worked me on that, but it's all good though.
I was just playing. I was just playing with you. Let's cut the cow manure. No cow manure.
This whole bundle, the ironing board, the printer, and the water jug, all solar powered. I can sell it to you at a bundle for $10,999.99.
Thank you for making it through this show. I know that this was, a little cumbersome, but we made it through. You heard the cow manure, as you say. I believe in your country you call it the bull. Don't be like these guys, okay? If this is such a very important thing for the group, make sure that you are not being selfish and you are putting your money where your mouth is. Send the donation for the nation. Thank you again for tuning in to Across the Globe. Tuned in with Baba Tunde.
The scriptures speak about how the forefathers, the Apostle Paul and them, went throughout the four corners of the earth to travel to teach the world. Why? Because we were dispersed. That was one of the curses that would befall the Israelites.
Subscribe, brothers and sisters, to IUIC Smyrna, one of the 7 churches in Revelation chapter 2 and 3. Subscribe. 12 12! Back from the break. Hope you guys had some time to use the bathroom. Get yourselves together, grab a snack maybe. All right, let's jump back into it. So we just left off from Isaiah 11, verse 10 through 12, regarding our people being scattered among the nations and being referred to as those nations in which they be scattered, and how the Most High will eventually open doors to us to be able to reach our people throughout these lands to the best of our ability to reach our people in these areas who don't have internet. Okay. Anyway, let's go to the next book, The Atlantic Slave Trade by Don Nardo. The Atlantic Slave Trade by Don Nardo. If you tell me you don't have it, I'm gonna rip my beard out my face. So I know y'all have it. No, you have to have it. We got a text, okay, so that gives you guys time to find the book. I think y'all slick over there. You got a text, Deke. I think y'all slick, bro. I'll read the text. I'll read it real fast. You'll find that damn book.
That joint from in-house, Deke.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. Someone got a question, Deke. Deke, where's the book? Yo, y'all think y'all slick, man. Go ahead.
Is Genesis 48, 17 through 19 a prophecy for northern kingdom becoming Gentiles?
Let me see. I don't want to say yeah fast and it'd be a no. Let me see. 48 and 17. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's good, yeah. That goes back to the other one. It goes back to Company of Nations. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, 19.
The 19. 19's a key verse. That's good. Yeah, you can use that too. It goes back to what we pulled earlier in 35 and 10:11. Company of Nations. That's good. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You can use that. That's a good one. All praises. All right. All praises. I'll write that down.
That's the book, D?
Yeah, that's the one. All praises. They found it. Thank goodness. 1719. All right. Where we at? Atlantic slave trade.
The Atlantic slave trade.
Don Nardo. I want page 15. We got to fly through this, so let's go.
This 15?
Yeah.
Where you want to start at?
As for which?
As for which countries led the transatlantic slave trade, modern historians have managed to piece together estimates of the major participants. Portugal, one of the earliest European players in slave trafficking.
They bought the slaves, us from the Arabs. They were rivals. The Portuguese and Arabs were rivals. Go ahead.
Was responsible for a whopping 46% of the slaves transported from Africa to the Americas.
That's almost half. Go ahead.
Britain was second, with about 28% of the trade. Then came France, with 13%. The Netherlands and Spain, with roughly 4.5%
And the Israelis were all behind this, the money. They were benefiting from it. Go ahead.
British North America, later the United States, with 2.5%. And Denmark with somewhat less than 1%.
Go ahead.
The Muslim slave network.
Here we go again. I don't forget Ishmael. Go ahead.
It is natural to ask how these nations became involved in trafficking human beings on such a huge scale. After all, slavery was not very common in Europe in medieval times. The period lasted from about 500 AD to 1500 or 1600 AD.
Jump up, son. Jump up real fast. Jump up real quick. Let me see. Read that there. The first Africans, blacks.
Black slaves in Portugal. The first African blacks brought to Portugal in the mid-1400s.
Mid what?
Mid-1400s.
That's 1441. That's what that's talking about. Go ahead.
Became either household servants or laborers on sugar plantations.
These are the Portuguese Jews we read about all the time. Portuguese Jews. That's what it's referring to. These blacks here. Portuguese Jews. Now jump down. However,
the slave-owning traditions of ancient times, which had culminated in the huge-scale slavery institution of ancient Rome.
So the slave-owning traditions of ancient times that America got it from is Rome. It's the same way Rome had it going on. Go ahead.
Were not dead.
They borrowed from America because America is an extension of Rome. Britain's an extension of Rome. France is an extension of Rome. Portugal is an extension of Rome. They all had slavery with us. We were involved in the same slavery in all these areas as we were in Rome, because it's the same place. Go ahead.
In the early medieval centuries, they remain alive and valuable in various areas on Europe's periphery. Most notable among Arabs and other Muslims.
Among who?
Most notably among Arabs and other Muslims.
Arabs and other Muslims. Other Muslims goes into Elam, the Indians, them too. That's other Muslims. Iraqis, Iranians, Afghanistan. That's Muslims too. It ain't just Arabs. Okay, it's them too. All the Islamic or the Hamites. Islamic Hamites too. Go ahead.
In the Middle East and North America.
That's how we know. North Africa. Go ahead.
In the 7th to 8th centuries, following the rise of Islam in Arabia, Muslim armies spread outward and created an enormous empire.
Yeah, armies, they conquered us. That's why from Northeast Africa all the way to Northwest is all Muslim Arab. Because their armies went and conquered and colonized us and pushed us further south or sold us out entirely and depopulated certain areas like Alam. Jump to the next page. For the most part?
For the most part, these slaves came from sub-Saharan Africa.
Right. Why sub-Saharan? Because they conquered us in the top half and pushed us into the bottom and enslaved us in the bottom half. Read on.
Islamic law forbade Muslims from enslaving each other.
But they would have, because of their hatred for us, they would find ways to bypass that and take us as slaves anyway. It didn't matter. Read on.
But Muslim merchants found a ready source of black African captives in the lands lying just beyond the southern reaches of the Sahara. Some of these captives worked in homes and fields in the Muslim lands, bordering the southern Mediterranean Sea. Other black slaves were forced to convert to Islam.
Forced to convert to Islam. forced to convert to Islam. Go ahead.
And serve in Muslim armies.
We were forced to serve in Muslim armies, and that's how they were able to conquer Spain. Because we converted, or we were forced to work in their armies to avoid enslavement, and they used us as their military force to conquer Spain and Portugal. The Arabs were the leaders and teachers and mentors and rulers. We were their arm. We were their military arm. Go ahead.
Historians estimate that a total of nearly 10 million sub-Saharan Africans were forced into slavery in Muslim societies from the 7th through 18th centuries.
Until now. We'll just take away 18th. This is now. Go ahead.
Arab slave traders bring slaves to market. Wealthy Muslims relied on slave labor to maintain their comfortable lifestyle.
And they still do to this day. So Janet Jackson's so quiet about her princely marriage. She's married to an Arab prince. She divorced him, and she's just so quiet now.
Right.
I wonder what she saw over there. Read that there. Genoese is Spain.
That's
Italy. Okay. Go ahead.
The Genoese and Portuguese sugar plantations. The transatlantic slave trade was, at least at the outset, an outgrowth of this slave trafficking network long maintained by Muslim merchants.
Go ahead.
But over time, Europeans began tapping into the sub-Saharan slave market.
The Portuguese began to tap into the sub-Saharan or Arab or Muslim slave markets. So it wasn't just them just grabbing up random Negroes and putting them on a ship. It was a business. The Muslims had slave emporiums, slave malls in Africa and throughout the desert. Mecca also. Go ahead.
In the 1300s, the Genoese, the inhabitants
Muslim merchants also goes into the Philippines, the Pacific Ocean, the India. Those are Muslim merchants too. Not just Africa. We see Muslim go, oh, Africa. No, not just Africa, but the Pacific Ocean islands too. Philippines, wherever Islam was, to convert to Islam, nations that were there, them too. Muslim Japheth, Muslim Moab, Muslim Ammon, Elam, Arabs. They were all involved with the European slave trade, and that furnished and supplied the Dutch East India Company with slaves. Okay? It's all connected. It's all interconnected. Go ahead.
In the 1300s, the Genoese, the inhabitants of the Italian kingdom of Genoa,
there you go. Go ahead.
began to see the economic potential of sugar plantations. Arab growers have been running such plantations in Egypt.
They still do. As I said, the best cotton is Egyptian cotton. They have us working there as slaves to this day.
To this day.
That's right. To this day. Go ahead.
To this day.
Syria,
Afro-Syrians, go ahead.
And other areas of the Middle East for some 3 centuries.
Until present. Go ahead.
And the Genoese now copy the Arab model, including importing black slaves from Africa.
Go ahead. We had blacks living in Italy. You had Israelites in Italy. They shipped them out of Italy and brought them over to the slave runners. Go ahead. The Arabs. Go ahead.
By the early 1400s, Genoese growers and traders have begun to buy African slaves.
So we think slave trade, 1619. No. It was way earlier than that. Go ahead.
African slaves through the Trans-Saharan network to work on plantations on Cyprus and other Mediterranean islands.
We had slaves on Mediterranean islands and Cyprus. That's an island off the coast of the Mediterranean. Next door to Italy, Cyprus. Jump down. Let me see. That's a commentary on a blacks being nothing. Go down to some Edomites commentary on us named Arthur Gibenu. I don't want that. Go to page 19. Yep, start from there.
These plantations were financially very successful, so it was not long before the chief European trade rivals of the Genoese, the Portuguese, sought to set up their own sugar plantations. Like the Arabs and Genoese before them, the Portuguese saw that growing sugar was a complex, expensive proposition. Indeed, sugar was a distinctive crop. Historian Stuart B. Swartz points out.
Turn down to 1440s. He's just going to give a comment.
In the 1440s and 1450s, eager Portuguese investors and growers created large sugar plantations on the Cape Verde Islands.
Cape Verde Islands. We were slaves there. Go ahead. Madeira Islands. Go ahead.
Madeira Islands and Canary Islands.
Now, Christopher Columbus, he had enslaved and conquered the Canary Islands. He was a pirate. the Canary Islanders and the Madeira Islanders, Cape Verde Islanders, we were all slaves in these areas. The Spanish and Portuguese enslaved us in these areas. Okay, read on.
All lying off Africa's northwestern coast. Jump down.
Yeah.
Arab and
the solution. The solution to this problem was to follow.
The solution to this problem was to follow the Arab and Genoese lead by bringing in black African slave laborers. The Portuguese found that importing black African slaves was not difficult. Adventurous Portuguese ship captains had recently been sailing south to explore Africa's western coast, negotiating directly with local chieftains.
Local chieftains are Hamites. Go ahead.
For slaves proved easier than tapping into the more time-consuming trans-Saharan network
So
to
they
the
said,
north.
well, rather than us go to the Arabs and give them money to buy their slaves from them, we're just gonna go to the Hamite chiefs. We'll go to them and we'll just buy from them. It's cheaper. They're closer. Go ahead.
In 1444, Portuguese.
In what?
In 1444.
1444. Go ahead.
Portuguese vessels carried some 240 black slaves to Lisbon. And many of these laborers were then transported to plantations in the Madeira and Canary Islands. Shortly before 1500, Portuguese merchants and growers set up a thriving sugarcane industry on São Tomé.
Yep, São Tomé Island. Go ahead.
An island lying a few miles off the western African coast, and took advantage of black African slave markets to supply the fields with cheap
São
labor.
Tomé Island was an island known as the Isle of Perdition. Isle de Perdidas, they called it, the island of hell, because they brought a lot of the Israelites, the black Portuguese and the Israelites from Africa, and brought them over there to serve plantations. They snatched our children from our hands and brought them over there. What's the text right there say?
When slavery became illegal in the Pacific and became covert, did they use the same cargo ships or different ones to avoid getting caught at that time?
I'm pretty sure different. I'm not sure what ships they used, but they were whatever ones they were using, they were illegal. When they were oftentimes, the book I have, Nautical Magazine, it goes into those. Well, the Pacific Ocean, I would say, was more like the Arabs. They had dhows. The Arabs were heavily involved in the Pacific, and they had some ships called dhows. And then you said covert. Did they use the same cargo ships, different ones? I don't know. Most likely the same ones or different ones. I don't know. I don't know what ships they used, but they used them regardless. They were illegal. So yeah, I can't really tell you which ones they used, but they, regardless of it being illegal, they were still using them. So I can't tell you which ones, because that rumor, that doctrine about the ships that never existed, they definitely existed. Okay, because the Dutch East India Company is definitely real. You can't deny that one. Go ahead. Spanish labor needs.
Spanish labor needs in the Americas. The lucrative São Tomé plantation became the chief model for the European sugar plantations that sprang up in the recently discovered Americas in the early 1500s.
So the lucrative São Tomé plantation became the chief model because they brought us, the Israelites, were brought over there as slaves. And it was very, very successful and prominent. So they used that as the archetype for all other plantations that they had established everywhere else. Go ahead.
May I add something to that?
Yeah, sure.
Also, the reason why it became a model is because before they came to this side of the world, they had us as slaves in St. Thomas for years. So the plantation owners that had us as slaves in our island, they already had experience, so they brought that experience with them over here. All right, this is how we're going to run the plantation because we already had, years of experience over there on that side.
Got you.
So that was the...
kind of like the Willie Lynch.
Right.
How Willie Lynch kind of put forth, the idea of how to break the buck and all that, and then it spread. That's basically what they did with St. Thomas over there.
Okay.
Go ahead.
At first, the Portuguese and Spanish dominated both colonization and the slave trade in the so-called New World.
Go ahead.
The 1494 Treaty of
Tordesillas. Now, keep in mind, remember, the Treaty of Tordesillas, I want you to keep that in mind. The 1494, underlined it for a reason. The Treaty of Tordesillas. Go ahead.
Between the two nations.
The two nations is between Spain and Portugal. They had a treaty. Go ahead.
Gave Portugal virtual control of the Western African region and Brazil.
They gave them West Africa and Brazil. Go ahead.
While Spain acquired control of Central America and the Caribbean region.
Like Mexico and downward. Go ahead.
The Spanish were the first to set up sugar plantations in the Americas within an operation on the island of Hispaniola.
DR.
East of Cuba by 1502.
Come on.
Such outposts became known as colonies of exploitation.
Colonies of exploitation. Colonies of exploitation. Go ahead.
Or tropical dependencies.
Wow. Go ahead.
The growers concentrated on turning out large quantities of cash crops. Not only sugarcane, but also spices and cotton.
Jump down that first.
At first, the Spanish plantations did not do as well as their owners had expected. First, Spanish investors and governors increasingly shifted their resources into looking for gold and other valuables in Mexico.
Watch this.
Second, Spanish growers at first exploited the existing native population.
They exploited the native populations that's in there. That's Northern Kingdom on this side of the world. Go ahead.
For cheap labor, rather than importing large numbers of black Africans.
It was cheaper to enslave the locals that were already there than to bring us over. I'm going to give y'all the statistics. For every... I think 3 slaves, there was 2 Native Americans and 1 black because it was cheaper. So oftentimes, Native Americans were enslaved. Yes, they were. They were the majority because they were already here. So it was cheaper to just enslave them, but because they knew the land so well, they can escape. So, okay, we can't keep using them because these guys are going to run back home.
We got one that escaped.
Such evil, man.
Go ahead, read on.
This approach proved unproductive because the Native American workers quickly died out or became too few to turn a profit. On Hispaniola, for example, the Spanish had worked to death or simply outright murdered 80% of the island's original 250,000 inhabitants by about 1515.
Come on.
By 1650, all these natives were gone.
What they do in response to this? They went and they brought more of them from the Philippines and from parts of Asia and made them replenish their workload. That's what they did because they knew who they conquered. So they replenished whoever they killed and brought them right back over. Go to page, let me see, read Although Europeans.
Although Europeans often exploited their white workers harshly, treated their social inferiors with disdain, and punished offenders brutally, including torture and cruel executions. They increasingly refrained from reducing them to slavery. Only outsiders, people who were different, especially racially so, and had no roots in the community, were made chattel slaves, those completely owned, legally speaking, by their masters. In that sense, Europeans acted like Muslims.
Go ahead.
Who enslaved outsiders or infidels.
Go ahead.
But protected fellow Muslims from that fate.
So they didn't sell their own. They did not sell their own. White folks borrowed the same model from Muslims. Don't sell your own. That's detrimental. Sell outsiders or unbelievers. In the case of Europeans, unbelievers is non-Christians, barbarians, savages. Read on. Thus over time? Throughout the 1500s.
Throughout the 1500s and well into the 1600s, they bought African slaves from Portuguese traders who still controlled most of the West African markets. After 1640, when Spain and Portugal became enemies.
They became enemies now. Go ahead.
The Spanish turned to the Dutch, French, and eventually the English for supplies of black slaves.
Page 24. Yep. Read the bottom.
A slave contract. At first, the Spanish had no access to the African coast, so they had to buy slaves from Portuguese and Dutch traders. Here's part of a surviving contract.
Part of a what?
A surviving contract.
Part of a surviving contract. Go ahead.
Made in 1667 between Spanish growers and Dutch slave traders.
Come on.
The individuals mentioned above have agreed with each other on the following contract.
Watch.
The respective directors of the Dutch West India Company.
The respective directors. Who's that? That's the Israelis. They're the directors of the Dutch West India Company shall what?
Shall dispatch from time to time an adequate number of ships and cargoes to the coast of Africa.
Go ahead.
And there purchase a total of 4,000 deliverable, acceptable slaves.
So the Dutch West India Company and the Dutch East India Company worked and helped all the Europeans. in selling us as slaves and keeping the slave traffic moving smoothly. And the Israelis were behind it. They're the directors of it. And the main shareholders of the funds behind it. And the insurers of the ships. Go ahead. Because some of y'all think, oh, well, because this is the thought. So that question sounds to me like this. I could be wrong, but I'm just going to touch it real fast just in case that doctrine is around, floating around, and it's ridiculous. The ships that they use to sell us as slaves, it doesn't make sense to destroy a ship because you had slaves on it. You're just not going to use it for that purpose anymore. I'm going to say it again. When slavery became illegal and they were no longer able to make us slaves anymore, those cargo ships, prior to having us as slaves, were just what they're called, cargo ships. Then when we became slaves, we became the cargo on the ship. Then when slavery was illegal, they removed that cargo was no longer allowed on that ship. But other cargo remains. Ivory, cloth, cotton, that continued to be sold on those ships. Not us, even though covertly, even now, we are being sold as slaves in those them big containers on cargo ships today. We're being shipped in those now. If not alive, dead in pieces. Organs of ours are being shipped across. We're being shipped dead or alive on these boats. Black organs, Native American organs, black market, they use those crates. And those crates are containers are carried by modern cargo ships. So one way or another, they are repurposed. Thank you. It says slave ships were sometimes repurposed for piracy or naval use after capture. For example, the USS Nightingale and HMS Black Joke were both former slave ships.
There you go.
So they were repurposed. No longer slave ships anymore. Now they're an army ship, or now they're a cargo. That's what happened. They didn't. Oh, we had slaves on this boat. Let's destroy it. That makes no sense. For what? Why?
Right.
If they put slaves on a train, you going to dismantle the whole train because they had slaves on it? That makes no sense. It's no longer. It's not a slave train anymore. Now it's a regular train again. That's that simple. You know. But again, this is a doctrine I think that Edomites are trying to push into the black mind. Negroes be in jail, and they just repeat it and spread it. It's ridiculous. Where we at?
The individuals mentioned above have agreed with each other on the following contract. The respective directors of the Dutch West India Company shall dispatch from time to time an adequate number of ships and cargoes to the coast of Africa, and there purchase a total of 4,000 deliverable acceptable slaves, and deliver these during the current year, 1667.
Go ahead.
And before the end of December 1668.
Watch this.
At the island of Curacao.
They delivered slaves to the island of Curacao, which is a Dutch-run island. Go ahead.
To the agents of the Spaniards mentioned above.
Go ahead.
When these 4,000 Negroes have been handed over, they will be paid for as stipulated below.
See that? So they had us over. Now, get me.
Hey, go down to that map real quick.
Go up. Go up.
Just go. Just blow it up.
Oh, that's good. There you go.
Right. So you see, you can't blow it up just a little bit more. So going back to Deacon Point, you see tobaccos being traded. You see flour. That's flour right there. You see molasses. You see, go up some more. Go down. I'm sorry. Go down.
Bring it out some. So
yeah, I'm
the words more. We can specify. There we go.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't see that, but my point is,
bring it out a bit more. Bring out some more.
Yeah, you got gold. You got gold down here, right? I don't know what this is. You can see that.
Slaves gold down there.
Yeah, slave. Yeah, no, it says slave. Yeah, slaves gold.
Slaves gold.
Right. Mm-hmm. So my point is, like, going back to Deacon's point.
It means the slave coast gold. Slave coast gold. What it means.
Right. If they got rid of the slave ships, then what's the point? How are you gonna still trade all these spices, cinnamon, gold, and so forth?
Merchandise.
Yeah, merchandise. There's no planes back then. You know what I mean?
Right.
So how is he going to get this stuff to these various continents still?
Because remember, the European lands today survive off of Africa. If it were not for Africa, Europe would be a third world country. So they have to. Africa is a necessity for survival of all Europe. That's why with our people over in Africa revolting now, France is falling apart. because it's we don't want you guys here no more. So Europe is having problems now because Africa's like, yo, we don't want you over here. We good over here. So they need these ships. There's no Europe is the Bible calls Europe bottomless pit. Nothing's there. Nothing really grows there. It's based upon import export. I'm not saying Europe does have grain. Russia has grain. They have stuff there, but not as abundant as Africa. Okay? So they need the ships. That's just your brain. Use it. Use your brain. Okay? Now, I'm sorry. Come on. Now, New World Jewelry. Give me New World Jewelry. We're making good time. New World Jewelry. Now, this book right here I bought last week or so. All right. Now, this book, they don't want no Negro to have. I want you to go into Google the price of this book here. New World Jewelry. This Google the price by Seymour B. Liebman. Liebman. I didn't write this. Their own wrote this. An Israeli wrote this. We're going to go through this book real thoroughly. Very thoroughly. Okay? Google the price of this book. See how much it costs now? Not the PDF. You get the PDF, but I don't like PDF. I like tangibility. I want the book in my hand. We had this book. It's out of stock. You're not going to find it in print anywhere. You're not going to find it. 1982.
2000. 2600.
$2,700. $2,700. Why? Go another one. Go somewhere else. Out of Amazon. Let's go to Google Images. I'm sorry. I mean buy. It says buy.
Yeah. Go to shopping.
Yeah, shopping. Let's see the various prices it comes under. Let's just go there. That's $2,700 on Amazon. This book is very, very important. And that's them burning us, by the way. They got a white girl there. That's supposed to be us there. We have an image, I believe, of Levites wearing this exact same thing here.
Yeah, the cone-shaped
hat. The cone-shaped hat. Yeah. Supposed to be a black woman there.
Hey, that also shows how important.
And the Caparodi right there on the left. KKK member. The KKK member. He wearing a KKK uniform right here on the left. That's what the Spaniards wore. They burned us at the stake. Auto de fe. No, I want New World Jewelry.
No, don't put book. Just put New World Jewelry.
Yeah, and then go to shopping, I believe.
Hey, that shows how important our history is, that they're willing to raise the price so that to keep it out of our hands.
Yep.
You know, so that's just how important our history is. They like, don't let them niggas get that. Don't let them niggas get that. Somebody said that's mortgage.
Yeah, that's a mortgage. Yeah. It's a mortgage, yes. It most certainly is. There we go. That's what I wanted. There we go. True Oak Books, $4,495. eBay, $1,600. eBay again, $4,495. Why does this book cost so much money? And why is it out of print and out of stock everywhere when you go look for it? If you don't believe me, you can fact check me. Go online, try to buy the book for a reasonable price. See if it's in stock. It's going to say out of print, out of stock, not available. And those are the prices it comes with. Now, let's dig into it. We're very serious over here. We get books. We got this book. It wasn't that price. Now it is. So we have it now. Now all of a sudden it's expensive. Page 6. Do y'all have the inside of the book? Who wrote it? Do y'all have that by some chance or no?
Hey, and that's why we need y'all to continue to donate.
Yes.
To Our Hidden History.
Yep,
book
as well.
Fund,
to the book fund as well. So. Yeah, you don't have it. When you go to the side of the book, there's a picture of the guy that actually wrote it. He's like a historian, an Israeli historian. Page 6, start from the colonial, wherever I underlined.
Yes, sir. The colonial New World History is a sequel to events in the Iberian Peninsula.
The New World History is a sequel, meaning a part 2, to the events in the Iberian Peninsula. Why? Because they enslaved us, the Israelites, in Spain, and then they enslaved the Israelites in America. It's a sequel. Go ahead.
Beginning in the late decades of the 15th century, the establishment of the Holy Office of the Inquisition in Spain in 1478 the expulsion of the Jews from Spain in 1492, and the admission of almost 100,000 Spanish Jews into Portugal are backdrops to the colonial history. Spanish and Portuguese Jews intermarried in Portugal.
Spanish and Portuguese Jews intermarried in Portugal. These are our people at this time. Go ahead.
The descendants were completely bilingual.
We spoke both Spanish and Portuguese, or is also referred to as Ladino. Go ahead.
The term Portuguese Jews was used by the inquisitors in the New World after 1528 for all Jews.
Now, originally, Portuguese Jews meant black Portuguese, but then over time it fell under all of them because remember they converted. But this term originally referred to us. Okay, go ahead.
Even in the late 16th and 17th centuries, despite the fact that many had been born in Spain decades after the expulsion, the Jews of Latin America and the Caribbean islands of this century are not the descendants of the Sephardi colonial Jews.
So the Jews of Latin America and the Caribbean islands of this century are not the descendants of the Sephardi colonial Jews. Meaning what? Meaning they're not the descendants of the black ones. That's what he's saying. These are converts. That's what he's saying. Remember, the converts became the inquisitors and the slave owners. Okay? That's what it's saying here. Now, the book I have referenced here is Maurice Fitchburg, where it says the Sephardi Jews are black. That's what I have written here on the left. Okay? Read on.
They are mostly Ashkenazim.
They are what?
Mostly Ashkenazim.
So the Sephardi, they are mostly the Ashkenazi, as in the German, the Edomite Jews, the Edoms, go ahead.
Who migrated to the New World.
They migrated there, go ahead.
Beginning in the 1880s.
Yes, go ahead.
And at an accelerated pace after 1890.
They took over the Caribbean islands and gained power, okay? Now, go to page 11 to 12. Go down to what I have marked, yes.
Jews are divided into two principal groups, Sephardim and Ashkenazim. The former inhabited the Iberian Peninsula,
Spain,
and the latter Eastern Europe, parts of Germany, and northern France.
These are Edomites, these are converts here. Just Sirach 12 and 10s. Okay, we taught them, they sat by us on our ways, overthrew us, became us. Go ahead.
Communities of both groups were to be found in other places, but these communities were only fragments of their groups.
So the bulk of them resided in the areas listed above here. Remnants of them, they scattered abroad, but the majority of them are in these areas, Spain and Germany. Go ahead.
There are legends.
There are what?
There are legends.
There are legends. Go ahead.
That the Sephardim inhabited the Iberian Peninsula during biblical times.
That's us. That's us. We read in the last page that these guys today are not the descendants of those people we're reading about here. They're different. Go ahead.
Unquestionably, they were there at least from 70 Common Era.
We ran there at the 70 AD. Go ahead. Even by the time of Babylon, we were there. But go ahead.
When Titus exiled 50,000 Jews from Judea to Sepharad.
To Spain. Go ahead.
The biblical name for what is now Spain.
Go ahead.
Between 1391 and 1492.
That's us there. Go ahead.
Many Iberian Jews fled to North Africa.
Fled to North Africa. The author knows that the Israelites were black, and we fled there during the Inquisition. Go ahead. And before it. Go ahead.
Because of the religious persecution instigated by Ferran Martinez and Vincent Ferrer.
Because there was different times and waves of persecution. We had to run away in there. Jump down to these words. There were other
Jews in the Middle East and Far East who were termed Levantine Jews, Persians, and even Chinese.
That's us too. Go ahead.
There are no known survivors as Jews from the last named group. These Jews bore some similarities to the Sephardim in their rituals and customs.
Right, go ahead.
From 1493 to 1890, the great majority of the Jews in the New World were Sephardim.
Which were really Ashkenazi. Go ahead.
From 1890 to the present. Ashkenazim have constituted between 75% and 80% of all the Jews in Latin America and the Caribbean islands.
So these are the Germanic Jews, the Eastern European Germanic Jews, were the majority of the ones who they migrated to the islands as they were the slave owners. They controlled, remember, they directed to the ships, the Dutch West India Company, East India Company, their business went, they followed their business. Wherever the ship went, they moved around to. Okay? Now, what page is that? 12? Yes, sir. Okay, jump down. Page 138. Page 138. Yep, start from there. The trade was in. No, go to the top.
Trade was in the hands by royal grant of contratadores, many of whom were Portuguese or new Christians. The original settlers in Brazil included many Portuguese or Spanish Jews who had migrated to Portugal in 1492.
Because when they conquered us in Spain and Portugal, you had converts, Edomites that converted, and they came over here in 1492 with Israelite slaves. So you had Edomite converts who became inquisitors that brought us, the original Jews, on as slaves. Now, you did have some of us who had freedom because we chose to escape this persecution. We helped Columbus come over here, and many other Spanish conquerors over here because we had no choice. Or we became converts, Christians, Christian Jews, or Christian Negroes, coons. Okay, so that was the exception to the rule. But read on the title.
The title of Mother Country of New World Jewish Communities properly belongs to Brazil because it was there that the first openly professing Jewish communities in the New World were founded.
These are the Israelis, the so-called. Go ahead.
Immigrants from northeastern Brazil were among the founders of Curacao.
They ain't found nothing. Go ahead.
To which the title of Mother Country has been accorded by some writers.
Jump down to legend.
Legend states that Gaspar da Gama.
Go ahead.
Was a Polish Jew who had gone to India with Vasco da Gama.
They're probably brothers. But Vasco da Gama, remember earlier, I showed you that book before, where it mentions that he brought a Hebrew translator over there to meet the Jews over there 4 years before Columbus came over here. Vasco da Gama traveled to India, and he encountered the Israelites over there. 4 years prior to Columbus coming over here with a Hebrew translator over here. So they were trying to find us, to conquer and colonize us. Read on. He adopted
the name da Gama when he was compelled to convert to Christianity.
So you see they do? He was an Israeli. He changed his name. They Christianized their names and changed their names to da Gama. But he's an Israeli. Go ahead.
Brazil became a Portuguese colony by virtue of the June 1494 Treaty of
Tordesillas. Remember that? Between the Spanish and Portuguese in the last book. Go ahead.
Between Spain and Portugal, which modified the longitudinal line under the earlier award of Pope Alexander VI.
That's Caesar Borgia's father. Caesar Borgia's father, the line under earlier award of Pope. So he awarded them the ability to colonize lands, which is our people. Alexander VI of Rome was Caesar Borgia's father, who posed for Jesus Christ, the world warships today. As a white man, that's his father there, Rodrigo Borgia, or Pope Alexander VI of Rome. So he basically passed an edict to colonize and conquer the Americas, while Pope Nicholas passed a law edict to colonize Spain and Portugal and Africa. Okay, read on.
The new line divided the New World between Spain and Portugal and resulted in awarding unknowingly what is known as Brazil to Portugal.
Come on.
The Lusitanian crown had difficulty in populating its new colony.
Lusitanian is like Europe. Go ahead.
Although, unlike Spain, it did not prohibit descendants of Jews to the fourth generation from migrating to the New World.
Read it again.
Although, unlike Spain, it did not prohibit descendants of Jews to the fourth generation from migrating to the New World.
Why is it saying that, fourth generation? I'm going to tell you why it's saying that. It's going to read on. It's going to explain it. Watch this.
It did not incorporate into its agreements with leaders of colonizing expeditions that all potential settlers...
Remember, these are talking about converts. Potential settlers. Go ahead. Watch.
Had to possess certificates
They had to possess paperwork of what?
Of
limpieza de sangre.
Clean blood.
Clean blood. Go ahead.
Read non-Jewish or non-Moorish for 4 generations.
What does that tell you? That tells you that these converts had black blood in them because the Moors ruled Spain and Portugal for over 700 years. And we intermarried with these people, with the Spaniards and with the Israelis. And so they had to go 4 generations in marrying their own people to wash out the nigger in them.
So they were sifting. They were sifting.
They
through.
were sifting through. If you have no one nigga blood in you, you can come to this side of the world.
Right.
If you a full nigga, your ass gonna be a slave. That's what we're reading here. That's letting you know that these Jews here are not the real ones. These are the white ones. These are the Israeli converts, the conquistador Israelis. So they had to go a whole 4 generations of pretty much marrying within their own to wash out any Israelite. That's why it says Jewish, or non-Jewish, or non-Moorish. Jewish means Israelite, and Moor means Muslim Israelite. Wash all that black out of you. Was Columbus involved? He predates it. No, he died. He predates the West India Company.
I forgot the name of the book. We brought it out a couple times. Called Social.
Social and Religious History.
Yes.
Of the Jews.
Oh yeah.
They say to the
volume 18, I think.
13.
13.
Yeah, it says to the 7th generation they was doing this, but here you read about the fourth generation.
Yeah, they want it sparkles. It's depending on how they look. They said, "Nah, you always go back, come back generations more."
And in that book, it explains on the paternal side they did that.
Yeah, on the father's side. This is going by father's side. They know. Oh, we have it here.
Yep, we should have it because we use it all.
We use it all the time. Do we have that though?
It's like page 104 in the hundreds.
But it's called limpieza de sangre, or they also refer to as sangre azul, like blue blood. Sangre azul or limpieza de sangre, meaning blue, like clean or blue, whatever. Blue blood. Fresh blood, new blood, non-Negro in you at all. That's why in the book earlier, the guy said, I want all the Jews and Moors to wear a yellow hat, yellow patch. And the guy said, okay, you better wear one first, because you got nigga all up in you. That's why, I'll give you an example. I'll give you a snippet. When King Henry had a wife, her name is Catherine, and it said that she was King Ferdinand and Isabella's daughter, but she was swarthy. But they're Spaniards. So why does she come out swarthy, but she got eaten by parents? Because King Ferdinand's mama or grandmother was a Moor. So she took on her mother's feature. Her paternal grandmother's features, even though she's Esau. You understand? That's why they had to go and do this here, because you'll have 2 Edomites that come up. Because sometimes you'll Jake will marry an Edomite woman, the child come out look like a white boy or a white girl. Then they'll have a child, the child come out look like a black person. So they said, nah, we're gonna wait 4 generations, marry within ourselves. Let's wash these Negroes out of our blood best we can. You can't wash it all out, but wash them out as best as we can, and then see what happens. I'll give you an example. Like that dude, that painter, I'm going to use this green right here.
Oh,
We're going to paint this right here, the mountains. This dude's hair like this.
Like a fro.
He's like, yeah, a straight fro. They call it a reverse perm because they got that in them somewhere. But, so this proves right here that these guys that made it into Curacao and Brazil and Portugal, these Jews that made their way in there, they were the converts.
Oh, I found it.
Okay, you found it? What page is it?
If you could finish reading for me,
yes, sir.
Deacon Need, I'm going to try to get this page.
Portugal was busy extracting profits from his East Indian colony.
From his what?
From his East Indian colony.
That's the Dutch East India business. They profited from both West India business of slaves and East Indian colonies of slaves. Go ahead.
And paid little attention to Brazil for almost 4 decades.
Because most of their money was coming from the slaves on the upper side. They didn't need the money on this side yet. It was coming in, but it was more abundant because it was first over there. All right? That's all I want. Get me...
They were extracting the silver from Brazil to fund
Their
slavery on the east side, to buy more slaves from East Africa and India and all that.
Wow. What page is this? What page is that?
139.
Give me page... No, I don't want 139. Give me 179. Read that.
Samuel Cohen.
No, it belonged to Spain.
Sorry. It belonged to Spain from 1527 to 1634 when the Dutch captured it.
The Dutch captured it. Go ahead.
Samuel Cohen.
Go ahead.
Also spelled Coheno.
Watch.
A Dutch Jew.
What was he?
A Dutch Jew.
They all the same people. I'm gonna show y'all through this book. It's the same people. They just change their name. Sometimes they don't change their name at all, or they'll keep the name the same. Dutch Jew, go ahead.
Was the interpreter for the conquering expedition.
He was the what?
Interpreter for the conquering expedition.
That's the Columbus had on his ship, and that's who Vasco da Gama had on his ship. Conquering interpreters to encounter when they encountered the real Israelites in the Americas, and when they encountered the real Israelites in India. Go ahead.
He became the first governor and served for several years.
Jump down to 1650.
In 1650, 12 Dutch families
12 Dutch families, Israeli families, go ahead,
arrived as the first Jewish residents.
Israeli residents, go ahead.
The Council of Holland sent them for the purpose of promoting the commerce and welfare of the island.
That's why they passed that law, the law of return. Because they scattered themselves all throughout the Americas, throughout East India, Pacific, and said, okay, come to Israel, come to Israel, land of return. That's for these people right here. That's for them right here. Read on.
The then governor, Matthias Beck, was ordered to give the Jews sufficient land as well as Negroes.
Give the Jews what?
Sufficient land as well as Negroes.
They gave the Jews, the government issued these Israelis land and us. Go ahead.
Horses, cattle, and implements, etc.
Come on.
In order that they may pursue agricultural occupations which have been neglected by the Dutch settlers who have found the contraband trade with the Spanish Main more lucrative and more to their taste.
Get me page, what page is this? Go down. 179. Get me page 141. I'm just jumping through, but it's all making sense. Go to what I have underlined, the relationship.
The relationships between the Brazilian Jews and those in Amsterdam was a factor in the decision of the Dutch West India Company.
Read it again.
The relationships between the Brazilian Jews.
That's the Portuguese Israelis.
And those in Amsterdam.
Go ahead.
Was a factor in the decision of the Dutch West India Company.
Go ahead.
To occupy northern Brazil.
Colonization. Go ahead.
The company counted
on what?
The loyalty and support of the Jews in Brazil.
Because they ran it. They ran it. They're behind it. That's why they relied on them. That's all I want. Go to, what page is that?
141.
Go to page 170. Jews
were in almost every settlement stretching across the northern coast of South America.
Brazil, go ahead.
From Cartagena eastward to the Guyanas.
Go ahead.
Guyanas. They came with ships carrying African blacks to be sold as slaves.
So the Israelis, when they converted us and conquered us, they came with ships full of slaves. That's what they did. And these slaves are either slaves as in coons, as in they were Christianized Israelites, that came on board to avoid persecution, but was still ended up being slaves anyway, along with the Israeli conquistadors. Go ahead.
The traffic in slaves was a royal monopoly, and the Jews were often appointed as agents for the crown in their sale.
Yes, go ahead.
When the king granted Pedro...
The agents for the crown, that's the Spanish crown, Portuguese crown. Go ahead.
When the king granted Pedro Gomez Renal the exclusive right to import slaves into the colonies, the contract contained a clause permitting Gomez to have on his ship 2 Portuguese who would be in charge of the sale of the Negroes and do anything else necessary among the people of the sea.
Now, what is that? 170? 171. Almost done.
Curaçao was considered the mother of American Jewish communities.
That's Dutch. That's the Dutch Jews. Go ahead. Dutch Israelis. Go ahead.
The Dutch Jews centered their lives about their synagogue. They did not immigrate in appreciable numbers after accumulating wealth.
When we arrived there in Curaçao to teach our people, they gave us a very, very hard time when we got there.
Right.
That's why they gave us a hard time, because they know who we are. They know what we were teaching. And they put a lot of our records of our people in slavery over there is written in Dutch on purpose, so you can't read it. The guy reads it for you. We were in Curaçao. That's why it's important to travel, because you see you see with their own eyes what we're reading here. You can't read what we're talking about on internet. Damn. You gotta see with your own eyes.
Damn.
A man who's well traveled learns by experience. That's what the Bible says. That's a man who's well traveled, not well web surfing. Not web surfing, well traveled. That's he moves off his ass and gets in a boat or a plane, and he travels and walks. That's what we do. But can I read on, please?
Jews, as well as Christians, in the English islands left for London after amassing their fortunes. Wilfred S. Samuel wrote that a proper understanding of the London Sephardi community in the 17th and 18th centuries was necessary, since its members derived much of their social prestige and revenue from the Caribbean connection.
Slave trade. Oh, that also includes Kamala Harris. She's involved in this too. These are her ancestors too, right, on her father's side. Just putting that out there. This is her history too. Her people. Go ahead.
Many Barbadian and Jamaican Jews apostatized in England. They became more English.
They became what?
More English than Jewish.
Go ahead.
And assumed more secular than religious and Jewish communal posts.
And what they take on? English names. That's what they did. Go ahead.
Curaçaoan Jews were respected on the whole and to a considerable extent were integrated into Dutch insular society without abandoning or stifling the Jewish aspects of their lives.
Meaning they didn't become pretty much modernized. They maintained their Israeli culture or whatever. What page is this again? 171. 183. I'm going to wrap it up soon. 183. 183. Let me see. Yeah, we're going to stop at this page. Go ahead.
Trading and serving as merchants, included owning warehouses with inventories to outfit the largest sailing vessels and to make ship repairs.
So they were behind the inventory and outfitting of the largest sailing vessels and ship repairs. Go ahead.
The Jews were the largest ship chandlers in the entire Caribbean region.
Go ahead.
Where the shipping business was mainly a Jewish enterprise.
There you go. The slave ships was mainly an Israeli enterprise. Who was on those ships? We were on those ships. Go to shipping and trading, please.
Shipping and trading did not lack difficulties.
Go ahead.
A good part of the trade with the Spanish possessions was clandestine.
Clandestine. Go ahead.
The Jews armed their vessels to defend themselves against pirates and privateers.
Go ahead.
The ships were not only owned by Jews.
Owned by them. Go ahead.
But were manned by Jewish crews.
Go ahead.
And sailed under the command of Jewish captains.
Israelis, bro, I'm telling you.
All over it.
All they run it, own it, sell it, insure it, secure it, maintain it. Go ahead. Man of the ship.
Many of the ships were engaged in bringing slaves from Africa.
Wait, whoa. What?
Many of the ships were engaged in bringing slaves from Africa.
Go ahead.
To the 13 colonies.
Go ahead.
The British islands in the Caribbean.
Go ahead.
And the Spanish colonies.
Philippines.
This book is crazy.
This book is a price-wise $4,000. Almost $5,000.
Yeah.
Go down, Aldo.
Although centering and Curaçao.
I read the entire book. I read this entire book. I couldn't stop. I read the entire thing page for page, from cover to cover, because it's insane what I was finding here. Go ahead.
Although centering in Curaçao, the Jews spread through most of the West India Islands.
Because they ran the West India Company. Go ahead.
French, English, and Spanish, as well as Dutch.
Go next page. Well, hold on. Let me just finish it up. 184. Come on. Go down here. Run away.
Runaway slaves from Curaçao found refuge in Coro.
Yep, we ran there. Go ahead.
About 490 slaves fled between 1729 and 1796.
This is us, obviously. Go ahead.
112 of them belonging to Jews.
How many belong to who?
112 of them belonging to Jews.
We weren't involved in the slave trade. We supported the civil rights movement. Y'all owned slaves. They owned slaves. Now go to page, that's it? What page is that, 184? Yes, sir. Go to page 74, last one. Page 74, we're going to wrap it up there. We got to read this in our land. Read right here.
When the Holy Office ordered the
Holy Office is Pope Alexander VI of Rome, the Catholic Church, or Pope Nicholas V. Go ahead.
Ordered the more than 100 Jews convicted in an autos in Mexico of 1646 to 1649 to serve prison sentences in Spain. They were turned over to the ship's captain in Veracruz.
Go ahead.
Since fingerprinting was...
So these guys pretty much, you had Israelites, because you had Israelites that were brought here as slaves, that kept Israelite customs, and you had the converts keeping Israelite customs. But the Spanish church, or the Catholic Church, went over there and forbid practice from both. The Israelis couldn't keep the practice anymore, or the Israelites either. So both got punished. But watch this, read.
Since fingerprinting was then unknown,
Uh-huh.
the captain was required to give a receipt, which included a physical description of each of the 78 prisoners.
Those who kept Israelite customs. Go ahead.
The following are two descriptions.
Regarding Jews. Watch this.
Dona Juana Enriquez.
Dona Juana Enriquez.
Only she and 4 others of the 22 women are identified as Dona.
Go ahead.
42 years of age, more or less.
Watch.
Wife of Captain Simon Baez Sevilla. Born in Seville.
Watch this.
Somewhat dark complexion.
That's a woman. That's an Israelite woman. Go ahead.
Round face. Of good appearance. Black eyes. Good body.
Black woman. Go ahead.
Leonor Baez.
Born
Castelo Blanco, Portugal. 30 years old.
Good body. Go ahead.
Good body. White face.
Go ahead.
Brown eyes.
Go ahead.
Aquiline nose.
Thin. That's a white guy. Go ahead.
Black hair. Widow of Augustine Roxas.
Watch.
Who hung himself in the cells.
Go ahead.
And whose effigy was burned at the stake.
So you had our people. You had the Catholic Church took over Mexico and so forth. So the converts came over here, and our people were brought over here already as slaves. So when they caught the slaves keeping Israelite customs, they burned them at the stake. If they caught the converts keeping the customs over here, they were also burnt at the stake when when the Catholic Church still had dominion on this area. All right? So that's the point. So you had a convert here and a real one. Convert, so the Bible, this book sometimes gives a distinction between the two. But the ones that brought the slaves over here, those are Edomites. Straight up Edomite. That's why it says 4 generations, clean your blood out first, then you can come over here. Then you can own the pure blood slaves, Jews and Moors. All right? So we're going to land right there. Hope you guys got the information out the class. I'm going to stop right there. All praise to the Most High. Some good stuff. Right, y'all. Oh, shout outs to the IT team. Great job. Excellent job, y'all. Excellent job. I know I ran over my time, but I just wanted to get that last part out. All right. Shout out to Manny, man. You tried. All praise to the Most High, man. All praise. Let's go.
Dang.
Wonderful class, Deke. All praises to the Lord. All praises.
Yes, all praises. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, so our hidden history. YouTube, subscribe. IUIC Philadelphia, IUIC Philadelphia in the classroom. Donate to OHH on PayPal at IUIC.Philadelphia@IsraelUnite.org. Donate to the Booster Club on PayPal. IUIC fundraising at IsraelUnite.org. Last but not least, subscribe to IUIC TV to get the exclusive content from the leadership of IUIC. We have our missing persons. So we had Zahad Lovington Wally. Missing 4100 Paris Street, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Age 10, sex is male. Race is African American. Hair black. Eyes are brown. Height is 4'8", weighing at 80 pounds. So if you've seen our brother, please notify the police, all right? Sahad was last seen on January 1st, 2025. He was last seen on olive green. He was last seen in olive green hooded sweatshirt.
Yes,
sweatpants.
He was last seen wearing an olive green hooded sweatshirt.
They setting them off to Manny for
up, bro. He was last seen wearing an olive green hooded sweatshirt and sweatpants, black sleeveless shirt, and black flip flops.
That sounds like it hurt to even get through that point.
He didn't understand what he was reading.
It's a rough life.
Also,
man. Israel land fund. All right, so you heard it from the bishop. He put out the vision for next year's Passover. We need our own land, so let's make it happen.
Listen, man. Those of y'all who can see the vision, donate, because they're trying to keep our Passover on our own terms, in our own land, on our own hours. We don't got to answer to nobody. We don't got to pay venues. We don't got to spend a whole bunch of money to rent out venues and be told when to close, when to start. Yeah. Keep the music down, turn it low, turn it up. Lights off. Sometimes they'll turn the AC on us on purpose, make us cold, or turn the AC off on us so it's too hot. But if we have our own area and our own venue, we don't need to rely on them. Right. So that's why we ask for our own land, not to build out there and build mansions out there, but to keep our tabernacles out there, to keep our own Passover out there, just to have our own venue. You understand? That's the whole purpose, is to be more self-sufficient in these times to the best of our ability. So that's the whole premise of the land fund. To those of y'all who may be curious as to why we keep asking for this, and when we say fund, whatever it is, we stick to that, because last time we asked for it, we asked for donations for a building fund, and y'all had some doubts. Oh, you guys are gonna keep your money and lie to you. What we went and did, we went and bought a building. Then from that one building, we bought many. So once we get this land right here, we're going to have many. That's how it'll go with us over here. All right, but go ahead.
So you heard it from the Deke. So make a check payable to Israel United in Christ, P.O. Box 2695, Newburgh, New York, 12550. Or you can also send your donations via PayPal. Make sure you put in the comment section, land, all right? So the email is Israel@IsraelUnite.org. All right, last but not least, the broadcast team, we are seeking your assistance to enhance our national broadcast. Kindly spare a minute to provide feedback by answering 5 brief questions.
Any comments, man? Any comments on IT?
Yeah.
I know, Officer Abaddon, you watching. Just, make sure you scan the QR code and give us your thoughts.
Any comments on the...
Yeah, what do you think of yourself?
Yeah, that reading stuff is hard.
I can't see you.
That reading stuff is hard, y'all.
Mm-hmm. Let's go on. Let's proceed. Let's proceed. Oh, man.
That's it?
That's it.
All right, all praise to the Most High. We glad we got through it.
No shout out for Raven and Wolves, man.
No, they don't. They're not active as yet.
They're not?
No, sir.
They're not back yet, man. Well,
They're not doing their show?
It's not active. They're still working. It's a work in progress.
So it's still on after this, right? Or no?
No, sir.
Nah, it's not on at all.
No.
Oh, damn.
It's still work in progress.
All right. Well, okay. Well, all praises to the Most High. Lord's will. Hope you guys enjoyed the lesson. Lord's will, see y'all next week. I got more for y'all. I got more for y'all. But that book, man, like I said before, that book is crazy. Hope you guys got edified from it. I enjoyed teaching it as much as I enjoy you guys hearing it for the first time. If you can get the hold of that book, it's a PDF available. You can always look it up, look into that. But all praise to the Most High. Until then, see y'all Lord's will next week. We got more in tune for y'all. We're reaching, eventually we're going to reach the conclusion. We got a little while, but soon we're going to be in the King James, Dark Ages, the Kings of England. That's coming up soon after this. So Lord's will, look forward to that. And with that, we're going to say shalom. Most High in Christ bless. Thanks for watching. Until then, shalom.
Shalom.
Thank you.